This week on NWP, you get to listen to me come up with an amazing intro to the show. I got nothing.
Come in and put your weary feet up. Come in and gently close the door. Our time will leave you intrigued and wanting more. Remove your clothes, listen to those headphones. Take off your pants, relax.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 177. We cover everything while bearing it all. Take two.
Yes.
I am Julian, and I'm joined as always by the long-suffering Justin.
Yeah. Oh man, what a night last night was. But
Yeah.
if in my normal levity of a podcast intro, if a girl named Miyuki calls for me, Julian, I am not here. Just want to let you know. So if that happens, I'm not here.
Okay.
Okay. Just making it clear. Her name is Miyuki.
Was this the girl that you massaged last week?
No, no comment on what happened between her and I. Possibly
Okay.
more on this later.
All right. I sense another visual novel in our future. But if people who follow us on Twitter saw, we actually are recording this a day later than we normally do because I don't know what happened, but Skype no longer wants to play nice with the Nerds Without Pants. And we spent 3 hours trying to get things to work last night.
trying, and then I had a little test call with my other co-host of my other podcast, Sam, and that one worked pretty good. And I don't know what is going on with that thing when me and you try to call each other, because immediately it crapped out when we tried it today. So who knows?
And we've confirmed your connection is way faster than it was at your old place, and then mine is the same. So.
Yep.
I don't know. It's weird. And so now we're trying untested waters. We're doing this on Zencaster. And so we'll see how that goes. We tried. Okay. So I finally signed up for Discord last night. That's how desperate I was.
We were both pretty desperate. I too signed up for Discord.
I still don't know what the fuck Discord is, people. So don't expect much from me.
We tried very hard, and then at some point one of us pressed the button and one of us couldn't hear the other one. It was a whole thing. It was laughably. You would all laugh at us. We were terrible.
It was an incredible comedy of errors last night.
It was really.
But now here we are, not refreshed. I was up pretty late last night, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, me too.
And probably less prepared than I was before, but we're still going to power through this and try to get a good show in for y'all.
I'm honestly equally as prepared as I was last night, which means not very much, because, whatever.
Yeah. But before we get into everything, Justin.
Yes.
We have a new review.
Do we?
We do. We don't get them very often, and I do wish that we had some sort of cool little music stinger for when we do get a review, just to make it that much more special.
That'd be cool.
But this one comes to us from Not Mike's Girlfriend.
Okay.
And the title of the review says, "Love this show and the last review." And the review reads as follows, Justin.
Okay.
Look, if Mike had written that last review about Mike Phallic, there would be evidence. I'm his girlfriend, and yes, the other week he heard Julian say he wanted new reviews, so he wrote one. Sure, that happened, and he told me that he did that, yes. But what proof do you have? The fact that I'm his girlfriend and he told me that he did, but what other proof? Only that, yes, he did do that. Fine, but what other proof? Anyway, I love this show. Would you kindly read this review? If you read it, it proves Andrew Ryan control. A man chooses, a slave obeys. Well, yeah, so I'm pretty sure that that came from Mike's girlfriend, Justin. I'm just gonna.
No, that's not what I was thinking. I mean, they're very clearly not Mike Phallic's girlfriend and very clearly not Mike Phallic. So I was thinking it was like a doppelganger, and that now those
Name
two have.
Yuki?
No, I don't think so. It's probably their names in reverse. Like they're like bizarro versions of Mike Phallic and Mike Phallic's girlfriend, and now those two have to fight each other to the death on a field of battle. I think that's how that has to happen, right?
I mean, it's an interesting theory.
Okay.
I will say, just a funny aside. So when I went to Boston last year and I was hanging out with my friend Blissy and we met Mike Fallick, he just casually dropped that his girlfriend wanted to come, but she was sick. And like after we, said goodbye and everything, because Blissy she listens to the show and everything, so she's definitely heard Mike when he's been on, and she's listened to Hack Thought before, and we were like, what is Mike's girlfriend like? Because I envision it in a couple ways, right? Like either she's just like the kindest, most long-suffering person on earth, like bound for sainthood, right?
Right.
Or she's like even smarter and like more acerbic than Mike, and she just constantly puts him in his place, and he's just like, yes, dear. Like that's the only way that I can see it working. Like one of those two scenarios. Anything else, I just don't know how that works.
You have a better idea than I do. I'll put it like that.
But thank you for the review. We always appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. That was very nice.
Yes. And if you would like to write a review, let us know, and we will also read your review on the air. I got that one off of Chartable, but Chartable only charts the reviews from Apple Podcasts, so that's definitely the place to put it. But if you review it somewhere else, just like screenshot it and send it to me somehow, and I will read that as well. Indeed. But I think that's it for any preamble, so we might as well just go ahead and take off our pants, relax, and jump on into the stage select. This week is my stage select. Not a popular stage select, but I'm really excited about this one. I like to put our creative caps on.
Right.
And what I wanted to do, and this is totally inspired by when I played through Judgment at the beginning of the year, because I really loved that game, which is a spin-off to the Yakuza series. And it got me thinking, what if we made other spin-offs to other long-running series? What would they be, and like what kind of games would they be?
Right.
And, I didn't really put like a limit on this or anything like that. I just really the main thing is I wanted us to each have at least like one that was pretty well fleshed out. And so what I've got personally is I've got two that are more of just like quick ideas. Okay. And then I've got one that's like the big one that really kind of spurred this whole idea on in the first place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how well fleshed out mine are, but I tried and I at least made some funny ones to make up for the fact that I might not have fleshed everything out on them. So we'll go
which
with
is perfectly fine.
All right.
I think you probably have more than me, so why don't you kick things off for us?
All right, I was sure we'll do it. I'll just start from the top one, and hopefully it's not an idea that you had, or if it is, maybe you have a better idea. But my first idea that I had was a Horizon Zero Dawn spinoff. And it's one where you would play, and I obviously don't know, because this is like such a part of the universe of that game that I thought was like interesting, but like I would like to know what happened during that like huge war between like humans and the robots and stuff like that, like while that was in full scale.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff you could do with that setting. I don't know exactly what kind of game I would want. You could go like, like kind of a cover shooter, almost Gears of War type route with that. Or like, I even like personally I would love like an XCOM style game where like you're fighting these giant robot things and you have to do certain stuff with certain guys and you have all your little units and stuff. I think that would be cool. The other idea I had for a game set in that universe is, not so much like a survival horror, but just maybe it is kind of.
That's what I was thinking. As soon as you said that, I was thinking, ooh, like Dead Space, but with the robots,
right?
Because they are kind of creepy, and especially when you start to get the backstory of like what was going on once they gained sentience around that time,
right.
Like they're pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it'd be like almost like Terminator, but with like giant dinosaur robots instead. Like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like they're just hunting you down. You don't have like much to defend yourself with and stuff like that. That it could be really neat. And let's see. I think that's really about it. But I just think that part of that story would be really cool. Again, I don't have it fully fleshed out, but like, if they ever wanted to make a prequel to that game, man, like, there's a lot more in that universe that you could explore, and you could keep tying it in. You could keep setting up, like, look at this really important artifact that got left behind in this story. This is the story behind this thing, and now in the Horizon Zero Dawn universe, now that's the MacGuffin of this game, or however you want to play it. You can keep going with stuff like that. And I don't know, that if you want to make a big expanded universe thing out of it, I feel like that would be a cool way to do it.
Absolutely. Like, I know we had talked about this, I think, when you had finished playing through Horizon. And I think I've thought about it, and I think you're right that, like, they probably need to keep with Aloy for sequels.
Yeah.
But I would totally love to see spin-offs where it's a different character, but in a different part of the world.
Right.
A la Assassin's Creed, because I definitely want to know, like, what happened overseas, because this happened everywhere, right?
Right.
So I'd be really curious to see what Finland looks like.
Right.
Or what have you, like, because you got to imagine that just much like the vaults in Fallout, that people are so far removed from each other and don't know what's going on after they emerge from the underground, that they would probably evolve in completely their societies would evolve in different ways,
right?
Just like the different tribes in the area that you get to see in the first game,
right.
And I'd love to see some more of that.
I think it'd be really cool too, man. Like, there's a lot in that universe. There's just a ton of stuff you can do there, and yeah, I really think that's a really promising franchise going forward. Hopefully it's like, and if it just is just Aloy games, that's fine too. Like, she's a really cool character. I really like everything they do with her, so I'm kind of fine with whatever. But like, there's more places you could go, so I think that's kind of neat.
Definitely.
Yep.
So this first one that I have, I actually think it's a stronger idea than the one I'm going to say afterwards, but I can't take full credit for this because this is something that actually me and former co-host Rob came up with, like, even before Nerds Without Pants.
All right.
We did like a special Mass Effect, edition of Pixel Talk, which is the podcast that we did before Nerds Without Pants.
Okay.
And we were talking at that time about how much we loved the Mass Effect universe and how it's a property that you could spin off into nearly any genre because it's just such a good universe, right? Like, you can do damn near anything with it. Like, you could even do like a Civ 6 type real-time strategy if you wanted to.
Yeah, you really could. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff there for that.
Yeah, but this is the one that has always stuck in my mind as one that I would love to play. Justin, do you remember the character Kasumi from Mass Effect 2?
I didn't have the DLC because I remember I played Mass Effect 2 without I didn't have internet at that point. I was very archaic in my goings on in the gaming world. I was a very physical based gamer. But I do know of her. She was she had like the hood on. Mm-hmm. I've seen her before. I don't know much about her. One of these days I really need to revisit that stuff because there's a lot of DLC that's like pretty important and actually really good that I really would like to go back and visit. So.
Yeah, she was a DLC only character. Mm-hmm. And, the problem with the DLC characters in Mass Effect 2 is that you couldn't converse with them as deeply as you could with the main roster. Mm-hmm. So you miss out on that aspect of the character, but basically she's a thief and she uses like stealth tech to, get into places, and she does have a loyalty mission, and her loyalty mission is one of the best missions in the entire game, in my opinion, because it's basically like, it's almost like a scene from James Bond. Like, you start off at this like dinner party at this super rich guy's estate.
Sounds cool. Yeah.
And you're trying to infiltrate, into, like, it's kind of part James Bond, part Hitman, where you're trying to like infiltrate into this guy's estate and like get into his secrets and stuff. And there's even some neat Easter eggs. Like, he's got this, museum in his basement, and like, he's got like a figure of one of the, I forget what they're called, but like the really big, they're all, ogres, for lack of a better term. I don't think that's the actual name, but they're from Dragon Age. So it actually tied in like the Dragon Age universe to the Mass Effect universe in a weird way.
Interesting.
And then eventually when it goes into like the actual gameplay, of course, is typical Mass Effect stuff. But Kasumi as a character, she's got like I said, she's got this like stealth tech, and she's got these really cool moves that she can do when she's in stealth. And I was like, even back then, I was like, I need a like third person stealth action adventure game starring this character in the Mass Effect universe. Like, I just think that would be like one of the coolest things that you could do.
Right. So like, so kind of like what you're thinking is, that StarCraft Ghost game that never came out or whatever. That was similar in concept, if I'm correct.
Ghost was actually far more actiony than I'm envisioning. I actually played StarCraft Ghost.
Oh, okay.
At E3, and it's kind of weird actually, because it was, if I remember it correctly, it was actually kind of a cover based shooter. But this is way before Gears of War.
Yeah, from what I remember, because I watched some footage of it pretty recently, because I remember it kind of came out or something fairly recently. I don't remember exactly when. But if I remember what I watched, it was like it had like different sections and stuff. Like the gameplay seemed really segmented. Like there would be like heavy stealth sections and then heavy action sequences. It was really weird how they had it put together, but Blizzard just never put that one out. So
yeah, and maybe I just happened to play one of the heavy action sequences at E3. I played it on the GameCube build, right? So this I definitely, I actually picture this more as like Deus Ex in third person.
Okay.
So, definitely like the handling of it would be, more Mass Effect-y, but I envision her as also being a lot more mobile. So, because, Mass Effect controls fine, but I'm picturing something that controls much more fluidly and really lets you, like, jump and maybe even like double jump and stuff like that and really like cover ground. And then obviously with her stealth tech and stuff like that, that just opens up like a whole bunch of cool avenues for doing stealth.
For stealthing, for the stealthery.
But, again, I just think that you could do anything with the Mass Effect universe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's weird because, like, on one hand, you got the EA thing, so it's like, I don't want them to milk the series.
Right.
But on the other hand, I'm like, but why haven't you milked the series a little bit more? Because there is a lot of stuff you could do here. I mean, Rob had talked about, what if you did like a first-person shooter that takes place during the first contact war between the humans and the Turians?
Right. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and maybe like one of the main characters, if not the main character, is Ashley's father. So
cool.
you get like that whole story. Like,
right.
There's really cool stuff that you can do with that universe. And actually one of the listeners has one later that we'll get into. So I don't want to belabor it.
Yeah, it's such an open, there's so many like different planets that you could just like really deep dive into, and so many different like, civilizations and stuff that you could just really deep dive into. Like you could make a whole like Krogan game. It's just Krogan stuff. They're just beating each other up and shit. Fuck it. Like that's the game. I don't know. I didn't flesh that one out at all because I thought of it 2 seconds ago. But yeah,
give me a shop simulator where I play a Volus on the Citadel.
Yes. I'd play that. That'd be amazing.
I would play the hell out of that.
I would love that.
Welcome, Earth Clan.
or the Elcor. Just give me an Elcor game.
An Elcor
rap
dating
battle.
simulator.
Yeah, or a dating simulator would be great. Yes.
Yeah.
Elcor dating simulator. I'm into it. Somebody make that happen.
I said that jokingly, but I kind of want that.
I would
now.
play the shit out of that, dude. It'd be great.
All right. Well, what have you got next for us, Dustin?
Okay. I am going to rattle off 3 different Resident Evil spin-offs that I have. Get ready. Okay. So I'll start with the good one, or at least the one I have like actual like. I don't want to say faith in it, but I feel like it'll be fine. But the only problem with this spin-off is it would require a lot of Capcom shutting the fuck up about what it was. And like, not like you'd have to, okay. So basically I want to do like Resident Evil, but it's like kind of like PT. Like PT came out and nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew it was a Silent Hill thing, but like, what if Resident Evil, like to either preview or next game or something like that, did like this like really cool kind of smaller game where like you played as like some guy that worked in like a lab and they didn't tell you anything that you were doing. You're just doing experiments and like it's kind of like a puzzle-based game. Like, I don't know exactly how the puzzles would go, but they could think of some stuff. And then, like, slowly but surely, it would just, like, start to kind of go to hell. And, like, you were kind of, I have this idea where you'd kind of be, like, making choices as you went. And, like, it'd be like some doctor would be like, hey, the results of that experiment that you just had, please do not tell anybody about those. In fact, go and destroy them. And you could choose not to, and it would affect things later on, and so on and so forth. And like, it wouldn't like come to light until like the very end, who you were working for, whether it be an Umbrella or another big bad or something like that. Or maybe we drop, Chris Redfield's out there and however you want to do it. As long as the writing's good, but like it would require Capcom to shut the fuck up about what it was and just like let the word of mouth kind of spread about it. Like, hey, Capcom just released this weird little like indie puzzle game type thing. What the hell is this? And then slowly but surely it would kind of be like, oh dude, you got to see this. And it's really cool. So that's kind of an idea I have for one of my Resident Evil games. I think that would be really neat. I would really dig that. I don't know if I'd play it because I'm a fucking chicken shit, but I'd watch it maybe, as long as they didn't put it in first person, then I'm not watching it. But
I don't know, the way that you describe it, it almost sounds like it could be like not necessarily scary until later on. Like it would be that type of thing where you think it's one genre and, like a Doki Doki Literature Club thing, right? Like,
exactly.
You go in expecting one type of game and then midway through things start to get a little off kilter.
Exactly.
And then like 75% of the way through, you're like, oh shit.
Man,
what is this?
There's gonna be a hell of a theme this episode now that you brought Doki Doki Literature Club up. Anyway, so another one that I have, these are my bonus 2 Resident Evil spin-offs. I want a Resident Evil spin-off, where you play as Rebecca, but it's just a rhythm game, and you just walk around and play piano for Chris to unlock doors for him because he can't do it. It's just like there's this one mansion that they go into, and all the doors require Rebecca to play piano, so she has to walk around and play piano for fucking Chris. She's like really pissed about it at the end.
Dude, okay, well, one, that I can't resist a rhythm action game.
Yeah, exactly.
But I envision this as like an iOS thing, and like it's just it's like there's a room and there's a door and Chris can't get through it, and then there's a piano. Rebecca plays it, opens the door, and then Chris walks through the door and there's another piano, and he's like, huh. And then you do it again, and it's just like every time that you complete a level, Chris just gets more and more pissed.
Right.
He's like, oh, come on! How can there be another one?
Yeah, exactly. She just like chilling out in the lobby or something, and just like he just runs back. He's like, Rebecca, there's another piano. I need you to open this door. He's like, oh, fuck, come on, Chris. Jesus Christ, man. That's
and there's got to be a thing where, like, just randomly, like, there's some chemicals that need to be mixed, and he's like, Rebecca, can you do this too? All I can do is shoot things and hold more items than Jill. I'm really no good for anything else.
No, he could hold less items than Jill.
Oh, you're right. It is less items. Yeah,
he was hard mode. Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm guessing he had cargo pants on. I don't understand. Maybe his sleeves.
Yeah. He is hard
sleeves.
mode. That's literally,
is it.
That's all he.
Like, I think even in Remake, they label him as hard mode or something like that. I can't remember. It's something like that. But my bonus number 2 Resident Evil spinoff is, where you play, it's like kind of a dating game, but you have to play matchmaker for the STARS members. And the joke here is that nobody in the Resident Evil universe ever has sex ever. In fact, they don't even know what it is. So it's basically impossible to complete, but you have to try. That's a real thing if you don't believe me. And if you don't, if you're like, you need a reference.
We know that Wesker fucks because he's got a kid.
He does. Yes, he does. Well, then again, you don't know. He could be a test tube kid though.
That's true.
Yeah, like Umbrella, like that whole thing's weird. So, but I will say that, like, if you don't believe me, the best example is in Resident Evil Revelations. There's a character, and I forget her name. She was kind of like the one that ends up betraying you in the end or something. Spoilers for that terrible game. Don't play it. It's not very good. But she does something, and there's a line where she's talking to Chris. She's like Chris's partner for this mission. She's like, so what's up with you and Jill? Like, what's going on there? And she's like, me and Jill are just partners. We're very close, but we're just partners. And it's just like, okay. like they have no idea. They just don't know. It's very clear that she's coming on to this guy, but like, he has nothing. He just doesn't want. He's like, we got to focus on this mission. That's all he cares about, man. He's just killing Umbrella. That's all Chris Redfield's about. That's it. Those are my Resident Evil spinoffs. Thank you for your time.
Oddly enough, I'm most into the rhythm one. But I'm the only person who would buy it. I'd be like, this is fucking great.
Dude, I love rhythm games. Are you kidding me? I'd buy the shit out of that. That'd be hilarious. They'd have to lean into the cheese so much.
Oh, definitely.
Like, yeah. It would be great for that reason.
They would have to actually actively go, like, try to make the voice acting as bad as the first game on purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe even go for like a PS1 aesthetic, like just make it look as blocky as possible.
Yeah, that would be really good too. Yeah. That all these things sound excellent. I'm into it.
All right, my next one, like I said, this isn't as fleshed out an idea as the first one, and it's just that, you know, this one is actually all me, but I would play the shit out of a Final Fantasy Heroes. You know how like the Omega team, the people who do like Dynasty Warriors, like they've since gone on, they've done like Dragon Quest Heroes, and they did Fire Emblem, was it Fire Emblem Warriors?
Yeah,
and
Fire Emblem
Zelda
Warriors.
Heroes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Hyrule Heroes.
Hyrule Warriors.
Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah. So, and I think so. I haven't played a lot of these games. Like I think I played one of the Samurai Warriors games that was free on Xbox Live a few years ago.
Yeah. And
I know that they're super shallow and stuff like that. And I think
absolutely.
like when I was looking at footage of the Fire Emblem one, because I did think about picking that one up, I was surprised where 99% of the enemies on the screen, they're kind of not there. Like you can kill them, but they kind of don't do anything other than allow you to mow them down like so much wheat.
They're like stat fillers, basically. It's kind of like Musou games are like this weird, like, power fantasy type thing. Like, the only characters that can really do any damage to you in those games usually are like the boss characters, like the selectable ones that they kind of like hide throughout levels. And then they'll put like little, like, slightly more powerful enemies in here and there. But like, that's really it. Like, that's all that can really damage you.
But I haven't played it yet. I wanted to play it as research for the show, but I just didn't have time to get around to it. But I own Dragon Quest Heroes 2, which is actually a lot more RPG heavy than the previous game. Like there's actual like NPCs to talk to, and there's side quests, and
that actually sounds not bad.
Yeah, like I bought it because I watched the review and I was like, that actually looks like a lot of fun. Like, and I mean, you're still mowing down hordes of enemies, but it also seemed like there was like maybe slightly higher stakes in the regular battles and stuff like that.
Right.
And, you know, and also it's clearly just this big love letter to the entire Dragon Quest franchise. And that's what I want, is that for Final Fantasy. You know, like you would have characters from, and heroes from like all of the games, and, you know, obviously like remixes of all like music from all of the games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, a deeper RPG mechanic. And one thing too is because, you know, we have like the Dissidia games, and we have like the Fiat Rhythm games, and like I really, my big thing for this is I just want to get like a really good artist to do the designs. Obviously not Nomura. Like I want to see like a brand new artist, and this isn't even slagging off Nomura. Like it's really just, I want to see someone who's never touched Final Fantasy before do Final Fantasy character designs.
Give it a take, because it'll give it its own identity at that point, which would be really nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think as long, I see, I know those games get a lot of shit, and I've said on here before, I don't mind them, but I don't mind them as long as they have like kind of a gimmick to them. Like the RPG thing you were talking about, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
As long as you can, like, the main gameplay is like, you know, it's button mashy, it's whatever, it's, you know, it is what it is. But like, I always enjoyed like the Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors ones. They're called, Jesus, I can't remember the name of it now. There's one, it's not Extreme Legends, it's the Dynasties or something like that. There's
the Dynasty Tactics?
No, not Dynasty Tactics, Dynasty Warriors, Empires, that's it.
Okay.
They're called Empires. And it basically turns the entire game into like this board game type thing, and like you can like, you build like a castle, and you can like recruit generals, and you can like kind of make your own army and stuff like that out of the people you fight, and like like people will attack you and you have to defend. It turns it like into almost like a board game, but like whenever a thing happens, instead of like rolling dice like you wouldn't Risk, you have a Dynasty Warriors battle. So, and like depending on how many troops you allocate, sometimes those battles are pretty hard, because like if you're up against 1,000 dudes, like sometimes the CPU will just crush all those guys randomly, and like no matter how overpowered you are, it doesn't matter. So it adds a little element to it that's kind of entertaining. So yeah, as long as they have like a gimmick, I think those games are the work. And like,
yeah,
if you're gonna like go in on a Final Fantasy thing, that could be really cool. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do, like as long depends on who writes it. Cause I went, how does that work? I mean, I don't know what Dissidia's storylines are like, so you'd probably have to keep whoever wrote, I don't know. That's tough.
The core, like the main plot thrust of Dissidia is, I think, what the plot of Kingdom Hearts should have been. Basically you have like the main villain and the main good guy, right? And so the main villain in Dissidia basically makes this coalition of all of the big bads from all of the different Final Fantasy worlds, right? And so the main hero entity, she pulls all of the heroes from all of those worlds to try to combat it, right? And so my thing with Kingdom Hearts is that I feel that like what they should have done, instead of trying to go whole hog into all of this like original stuff,
yeah,
it should have been that like Maleficent teams up with like, I don't know, Garland or something, right?
Ultimecia would be like a perfect fit. They like,
or yeah, something like that. And so then under them, they have all of these Disney and Final Fantasy villains teaming up.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, and so that's what it would have been, is like a true blending of Final Fantasy and Disney.
Right.
Instead of going, and of course, you know, you have original characters like Sora and Riku, and I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that thrust of the Dissidia story is pretty good. It's just, like the actual dialogue and stuff.
Right.
It's not all that great.
Yeah, I think I've seen like a few scenes and been like, I don't know about this one, but yeah, like as long as you got like competent people behind it and it really puts some heart and soul into it. I think I keep hearing good things about the Persona one. Like it looks cool anyway.
Yeah, and you know, my thing with the Final Fantasy one is that you would up the spectacle to like 13.
Oh yeah.
Because like, you know, I mean, these games, they try to just like throw as many dudes on the screen as possible at the expense of the rest of the graphics. Where here, I think you would have maybe fewer dudes on screen, but the graphics are just like balls to the wall, and not necessarily like realistic, but like just like, you know, going back to like, hey, I'm going to summon Ifrit, and it's just going to like annihilate 500 dudes at once, and it's going to be this huge screen-filling thing that takes like, you know, 45 seconds to play out.
Actually, that'd be cool. Yeah, like, or like, or what if they did like, you know, their typical like Final Fantasy thing is like, they were like, we're gonna go like the most cutting edge technology and like all that stuff. Like if they put like their all into it and just put like a big budget behind this thing and just made it awesome. It's like, hey, this is kind of a Musou game, but look how many dudes there are on screen at one time. And they just like overwhelmingly awesome looking graphics and like really innovated that genre. Like that could be something cool, man. Especially like, summons are just like, dude, like Bahamut comes in and just fucking melts like a whole crater into the battlefield at once. Yeah. That would be awesome. I'd be into that.
Yeah. All right, I'm glad you're on board with that. I wasn't sure how that was going to play.
Oh man, no, I'd be into it. They got to do it right, but like, you know, we came up with the idea, Julian. We just throwing shit out there. You know, they got to execute. You know, that's not on us.
I'm honestly surprised that this hasn't happened already. Right. Because I thought that those Dragon Quest ones did pretty well, considering, you know, that it's a Dragon Quest game and it's not even a mainline Dragon Quest game. Like, I think obviously we got the sequel out here, so it had to have done decently enough to like warrant that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've always heard like decent enough things about them. So yeah, people like those Musou games. Like there are people that buy them. So you know.
Yeah, I might actually crack that open after I'm done with what I'm playing, because we'll get to it in Consumption Junction, but I'm kind of needing like low mental impact, but highly rewarding games now.
Yeah, there is no better like mental relaxation type of game than because it's mash buttons and then hit super move and kill many dudes, and it's kind of cathartic and relaxing and stupid but like, you know, some people aren't into that, and I totally get it. All right, well, I guess I'll give my my last bonus funny one here that I have before I go into like a more serious one, because it's quick.
Sure. But
they should make a Silent Hill game where you play as a character who has to help Pyramid Head balance his checkbook. This Pyramid Head has a lot of expenses. Like he has all those knives. He has like machines and stuff that rip people in half for some reason. There's a lot of mannequin buying involved.
And also he's constantly having to fight legal battles against the mannequins that he does terrible things to against their will.
Right, exactly. And you know, what kind of income does he have, Julian? I'm guessing it's not much. He lives in a weird hellscape called Nowhere, and you know what's going on there. You know, we don't know. So he needs somebody to come in and kind of help him balance these things out. You know, help him get on the right track. You know, hey, maybe we cut down on the mannequin legs this time. Maybe we buy one less giant knife. You know, this one's on sale this week. You know, let's go with that. You know, you're spending a lot of money on weird dead bodies to put in bathroom stalls. Maybe we cut down on that, man. I don't know.
You don't need to wax the Pyramid Head every week, right?
Right, exactly.
You live in a pretty grimy area anyway, so it's okay if things are a little dirty.
It may be more intimidating that way, you know? So that's an idea I had. Surprisingly, my more actual idea is not that, but it's kind of funny anyway because it's me. I'm going to tell you that right now. So it's been a while since I've had one of these, but here we go. I want a Street Fighter spin-off, Julian, where I play as Chun-Li, but I want it to be a Yakuza-style detective thing, because she works for Interpol, which is like a weird, I don't know what they do, but so they could flesh that out. But I want her to be like undercover super spy detective Chun-Li, goes in there, fuck shit up, and then we can expand the Street Fighter universe and make it awesome. And this would give you... So Capcom clearly likes Chun-Li as much as I do. They show that by giving her mini costumes that I enjoy. And so this would be the chance to, like, if you're giving her all these, like, cool undercover missions and stuff like that, you could, like, play dress up with Chun-Li. It'd be great. And, like, you could have a lot of fun with it and just be really dumb. And, like, you could explore these, like... already like kind of like existing stages and areas in Street Fighter, but like in a Yakuza way, like maybe not as open as Yakuza, like maybe a bit smaller of an area, but still kind of have like some side quests and stuff. And like maybe one time you like go and find Guile and you like go kick in Shadowloo's head or something like that. And then you like dress up as a waitress or something to get information about this thing, and then you go kick all those dudes' asses in the back room. It'd be fucking cool. And then like in that same like kind of Yakuza style, instead of like, so I had two ideas for the combat on this. It was either like a really cool, quick character action type thing where you're kind of like, you know, dodging all over the place and doing weird shit, or actually like every time you'd get into one of those like Yakuza random encounters, it would just switch to the old Street Fighter mode, like really like seamlessly, almost like Mortal Kombat, where the camera would just shift, and then you're just in like 2D, like fighting as Chun-Li, but like it also has those RPG elements, same as Yakuza does, to where you're like, you know, now my spinning bird kick does this much more damage, and it has like a area of effect attack or whatever, you know, stuff like that. It'd be cool. You could really do it with any Street Fighter character, but I think, and it's weird because that's the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, it would fit her the best probably, because she has this like weird, like secret agent type, or just, you know, government agent type thing. You could totally make it a secret agent thing. It would totally work.
I mean, that was kind of why she was one of the main characters in the animated movie in the 90s.
Right.
They had that, they had her playing that role. And I mean, I was going to say, if not her, then you could also try to do it with Guile, because he kind of is the American counterpart, to her in that respect.
Right. You could have them kind of like team up, be buddy cops or something too. Like, I wouldn't even hate that if there was like kind of both their like a joint thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be pretty neat. But yeah, I think that the Street Fighter universe like never gets really that great of a story. Like, they have like some weird bullshit with the Dark Hado and all that stuff, but like there's a lot of like cool fan servicey things you could do that'd be really fun. Like, you could really make fun of the Chun-Li shower scene in the original anime and stuff like that. You could there's a lot of weird jokes you could make. Give me more information about Chun-Li. Like, never tell me her last name. That would be great, because that's never been confirmed ever. Apparently in the movie it's Zhong, and then in another thing it's Chang or Chong, I think, something like that.
That sounds about what an American writer would come up with for her last name.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's never confirmed or anything. But it like never confirmed that stuff. What else could you do? There's a lot of little jokes. I learned this on a Wikipedia page about Chun-Li because it was funny. Did you know, Julian, that her wristbands weigh like 20 pounds each? And that's not so that she can hit people with them and make it hurt. It's so that she can balance out her kicking. Because if they're heavier, it makes her balance better. See, that's a true fact.
Somehow I feel I had heard the 20-pound thing somewhere, but not that other fact. So maybe, maybe not.
I don't know. I just read it on like a Wikipedia thing. So, whatever credence that has. But yeah, like, I feel like that would be really fun. There's be some fun things to do in the Street Fighter universe. Like I said, it never gets a great story. Like, and this would be like a good chance to like, hey, these characters are really cool, actually, and we like their designs, and we have a lot of fun with the universe, and we don't take it too seriously, because, like, that's what I think of Yakuza, is, like, it never takes itself too seriously, and as long as you keep with that theme with it, it'd be really fun.
I think that, the Street Fighter, like you said, like, I think those characters are very impactful and just very, very cool. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that you could do with them. Like, I don't know if you knew about this, but like back on the PS1, and it only came out in Japan, but there's a Samurai Showdown RPG.
I've heard of that, yes.
Yeah, and it's straight up like old school Final Fantasy, characters on the right, enemies on the left, turn-based, 2D sprites. I always wanted to play it.
Yeah, I think I've seen that before. I think I've seen a couple screenshots of something like that when I was a younger man. But yeah, I always wanted to play that too, because it sounded really cool. I like Samurai Showdown a lot. I always think that's a cool franchise. Yeah,
and I would love to see something like that for Street Fighter. And like they've done a couple other little things. Like one of my favorite card battling games is actually on the Neo Geo Pocket, the Capcom versus SNK Card Battlers Clash.
Right.
Game is fantastic, and it's all it's not just Street Fighter, but most of the Capcom stuff is Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I like your idea, Justin. The only worry that I have is that this has been tried before. Let me point you to Death by Degrees, starring Tekken's Nina Williams on the PlayStation 2.
I was gonna say there's also Mortal Kombat, Special Forces. We could go on. They have tried and failed, but like, just do.
And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it again.
Exactly. That's what I mean. People try. It's just like sometimes games are bad, and you just have to not make them bad. Like, just don't be afraid to try. Just don't make them bad. I mean, Mortal Kombat also has some excellent spin-offs. What's the Shaolin Monks? I was just going to say. I just thought of it at the same time. That one's an excellent spin-off. That shit's great. Like,
I was actually going to bring that up because San Andreas, his spin-off game is a Mortal Kombat 1, and so we'll talk about it a little more there.
Indeed.
Yeah, so your idea actually was treading dangerously close to my big idea. My game is titled Yakuza Cross River City, Justin.
Oh, nice.
Because I think I've said this on the show before, but I think it was after I played when I was reviewing like Yakuza Kiwami 2, which was my second time playing a Yakuza game. I played them in weird orders, but anyway,
it happens.
I just have this theory that Kunio-kun from the River City series, he grows up to join the Dojima clan or one of the Yakuza clans, because he's just such a He gets involved in some bad stuff, right? Like he's basically a delinquent in his own high school,
right?
And he's really more concerned with like beating the shit out of people than getting an education. And I want to explore that, Justin.
Okay.
So this obviously wouldn't be set in the main Yakuza canon because it just couldn't we already know a lot about Kiryu's upbringing and stuff like that. But what I envision is a high school age Kiryu, going to school in Kamurocho, and one of his classmates is Kunio, from the River City, or maybe not a classmate. Maybe like River City High is actually like a rival to them. So maybe Kunio is like the Majima of this game. But because here's my thing is that like obviously it takes place in Kamurocho, so we're going to see a lot of the same places that we've seen in nearly every Yakuza game. But Justin, we're going to cross that street at the south of the map because there, Kamurocho, like the part that you see, that's obviously like the downtown, like nightlife district. But there's places where people just live and go to school and everything. So this would be a chance to see like more of a slice of life of Kamurocho, where you're riding your bike to school, or walking the girl that you're into like home. There'd be like a whole dating sim aspect to it. Right. And like, so you would get to see like the more residential parts of Kamurocho. But then of course, after school you would go into town and get up to some ill shit. But basically, I mean, it would still play like a Yakuza game. It would be like a beat 'em up / action RPG. It wouldn't be obviously as intense with the heat actions because you're playing high school kids.
Right.
But I think you could still do like a lot of fun stuff that way. Like maybe like one of the heat actions is like a swirly. Maybe one of them is a wedgie.
They should lean into the fact that they're like, the River City, guys, have always looked like greaser gangs to me.
Yeah.
So they could like make a whole gang in that high school that like comes out in like West Side Story snap battles all the time. Like that would be awesome. I'd be so into that.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I just really envision it as like a wackier version of Yakuza, if that's possible, but really, kind of leaning heavily into the like slice of life / like comedy anime, like comedy high school anime type thing. Right. So like, having Kiryu as like this self-serious character, but obviously there's going to be like girls that are totally into him that he's completely oblivious to. And cause he's just, he's the cool like senpai and, like, I don't know. I just think it would be really fun. And then of course with it having the River City thing in there, like, I don't know, maybe Billy and Jimmy Lee are there. You never know.
Double dragon though. All right. Yeah. That would be into that. Yeah. There's another town just a little bit over, and it's the Double Dragon town, and they, hell yeah, I'm into that. Fuck yeah.
And like maybe instead of going to the arcade, like, because obviously this would take place in like the 80s and stuff like that. So like maybe you go to Kiryu's house and he's got a Famicom, and you're playing fucking River City Ransom.
Okay, I have a very very big question. Does Megan McDuffie get to do the soundtrack to this? Can she have tracks at least?
I think she should have tracks on it. Like I think her doing the entire soundtrack would make it lean too far on the River City part of that equation, but definitely some Megan McDuffie tracks should be in there.
You should have two different soundtracks for when you cross sides of town.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be sweet. Like this is what plays on the radio in this side of town. This is what plays on the radio in this side of town.
Yeah.
Like, they don't like each other very much. Like really lean into the cheese. It would be great. I like it.
And definitely with that, you really have to have a localization team that's in on the joke. So like maybe when you cross over into the River City side of town and you beat people up, they're like barf and stuff like that, right? Like all of the silly things that they say in River City Ransom when you beat people up, like
exactly,
but not on the Kamurocho side. Like Kamurocho side, it's a little bit more serious.
It's very serious. They're like cussing you out and shit.
Yeah,
it's like this is very contrasting things that are happening here, but I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that would be a lot of fun. I envision it as like a fully fledged like console thing, but I could even see this as like. Well, I mean, we don't really have portables anymore other than the Switch, but I mean, I could even see this as just like a 3DS type game, like, or a smaller budget, just digital only type game, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be of the scope of a Yakuza game, but that's kind of what I picture in my head.
Right. Yeah. It's tough because Sega's weird and they like to I don't know. They don't seem to like indie games too much unless it's Sonic Mania, and I don't even think they really liked that. I feel like they really hate that was successful. I could be wrong. Because it's a Sonic game that they didn't make, and that's the one that everybody likes. But, what are you going to do? But
they seem to be playing ball pretty well.
Well, Ryu Ga Goten or Gotoken, I think that's their name. They're the people that make Yakuza, that studio. They seem to be a little bit more laid back and cool, so they just have to get Sega to kind of hey, let us do a cool thing once.
Obviously they made some sort of deal with Square Enix in order to actually name drop Dragon Quest in Yakuza 7. So
here's a weird ask. Can we work Dynamite Cop into it somehow?
Dude, yes.
Fuck yes. Dynamite Cop would be fucking great. Dude, I just watched somebody play that today. I was like, oh my god, I forgot this game existed and it's so awesome. I remembered all the parts. It was so cool.
Yeah, that game is a lot of fun. I don't know if in this high school based game if it's a really good idea to have people pick up rocket launchers.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
Don't question it. Just have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's all I've got, Justin.
That's all I've got too, Julian. I think we're done. I think
all
that's
right.
it.
Well, then let's move on over to the listeners. Before we get over to Pixelbit, we do have one from Facebook from one Adam Bradbury.
All right.
Who echoes my thought. He says, I think the Mass Effect universe would spin off into a tactics game like XCOM. I thought some of the special moves would translate well, like if you use tech skill overload to blow up a computer console that an enemy was using as cover. I also thought maybe there could be team up moves, like if your biotic character you use throw to push an enemy into a charging Krogan. Or into your charging Krogan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, when Adam sent that, it got my gears turning. Cause I was like, dude, what if you had biotic powers in a game like that? That would that would completely change how it felt.
Well, not to get, people excited to try to play an XCOM game, but in the newest XCOM, you can play as one of the, people that can control minds, and you can do kind of stasis powers and stuff and freeze people while your other guys take shots at them. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But the regular mainline ones don't have that because that's an alien thing. No, they do have that. You can train psi units who have the alien psychic powers, and they do the same thing that those guys do. And you can take control of other units and stuff like that. But doing it in a Mass Effect would actually make the writing a lot better because XCOM not known for its great writing.
Right.
So yeah,
imagine having one of your characters use a singularity to draw 5 enemies into the same spot, and then the next character has one of the heavy weapons and does a giant splash damage attack right in the middle of them.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be sick. I'd be into it. I'm down for all turn-based strategy games in grid form, XCOM style. Anything you want to throw at me, I will play it probably. I love that genre of game. Yeah. So yeah.
Actually, just as an aside, did you check out Mario vs. Rabbids when you got your Switch?
I never got around to that one.
It's fun.
I believe it. I don't know why. I didn't get around to it either. It seemed really cool, and I remember hearing the music from it. I think it was on the Giant Bomb special. I was like, wow, this is really something else. I did not expect this from Mario vs. Rabbids. I thought it'd be really dumb. But
I really like the Rabbids. I think they're really funny characters.
Yeah, I think that might be why I completely forgot about it, because I just they've never been anything that really did much for me. So yeah. But Mario's cool, so maybe that's cool. I don't know.
I'd recommend it if you find it on a sale or something and you're...
One of these days, honestly, until you mentioned it just now, I completely forgot that game existed. I won't even lie to you, so...
I'm honestly surprised that they haven't announced a sequel already, because
Yeah.
It seemed to do really well, and it reviewed really well, and people seem to really dig it. So
yeah, who knows? I mean, you never know. That's one of those things between Ubisoft and Nintendo, and like I know that a couple of their tie-ins didn't work out well. They had that one. What was it? The one where you could connect the ship to like your Switch or something like that.
Oh yeah, Starlink.
Starlink, that was it. Yeah, and that had the Star Fox thing. I mean, I'm not saying that game did terrible or anything. I don't know, but like it didn't seem like it sold very much, and like, it was a little gimmicky.
It was a thing, because I remember when I saw the trailer and I was like, man, if I was 10, I would be all over this.
Yeah, and like I remember like. I think the toy aspect of it turned a lot of people off, and like I remember hearing like people talk about it. It's like, no, you don't actually need any of that stuff. Like it's just in the game, but like it's a way to do it otherwise to like for kids. And I was like, oh, that seems neat. Like, yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying I don't know how well it did, and who knows what the relationship is there. You never know. Miyamoto just kind of shows up sometimes, and I'm like, I don't even know if he knows where he is right now. It's the whole thing.
Just give him the Zelda sword and shield and push him out onto the stage.
I feel like somebody just tells him to go over there and sit in that seat, and he's like, okay, and then somebody calls him up on stage. He's like, why am I here? I don't know. Just watch him sometimes. That's the impression I get every time he's somewhere.
I don't know, man. The impression I get is that, like, when that game was being developed, he was like, y'all better not fuck this up. Because, the impression I've always gotten of Miyamoto is that he is very much like, he will come in and just, like, eviscerate your game until it's good.
Yep. Which, hey, good for him, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
that's great.
The results speak for themselves. But yeah,
exactly.
like I've heard that from, like, Retro Studios, because they're here in Austin, like, when they were making Metroid Prime, and then also, I think for Mario vs. Rabbids, kind of the same thing. And really, any time that he's overseeing, like, something that he's not actively working on, but he's like going in for like just to check on it, he's like, nah, son, like you need to like scrap this and do this instead.
You've made me afraid to be a game developer and talk to Miyamoto now, so glad I didn't take that career path.
Yeah, because you totally would have met Miyamoto if you took that career path.
Exactly. Obviously, that's you make a game and then you meet Shigeru Miyamoto. That's how that works. Obviously,
right? Yeah.
I mean, I did a report on him. I know how he operates. That's the story everyone has. All
right, Justin. Well, why don't we move on to pixelbit.com, and we have a handful of submissions there.
All right,
not too many people don't like my ideas. That's okay. I'm not hurt. It's fine. It's fine.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Hey, listen, Julian. We all love you very much. Okay. Don't you take it to heart. All right. and if you take it to heart, we'll go punch out. We'll punch people out. I don't know who we'll punch out. Punch somebody out though.
Until they say barf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not actually throw up. Just say the word barf.
Yes. He said to say the word barf, and then we'll be like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
All right. Up first on Pixelbit, we have our buddy Superstep, and he has this to say about his video game spin-offs. He says, Mega Man, but it's a rhythm action platformer a la some of the levels in Rayman Legends with dance battles against level bosses. Levels will have the rock-style goodness of old games, while bosses will be a bit more dance-oriented, and battles are in the style of Bust-a-Groove or maybe the Haruka gameplay from Yakuza 5.
He couldn't resist.
You knew it had to come. Once you reach Wily's castle, you will face all the robots in a battle royale wrestling match until finally Dr. Light comes in to battle Wily in a guitar duel a la Guitar Man. There's a lot going on in this. And he says, Mega Man, Rock Robots. I assume that's the name. He came over the title. That's impressive. Mega Man Rock Robots will also have DLC tracks and levels from Guns N' Roses, Journey, and the Proto Men. I'm out, except for the Proto Men are fine. But I'm out on the Guns N' Roses and Journey, to name a few.
All right. I just gotta say that I feel that Superstep is pandering directly to me.
Probably.
But I'm so in. Like everything about that, including the Guns N' Roses and Journey, is just like, yes. Yes to all.
I need Paradise City far away from Mega Man at all times. And don't stop believing It's a song, if I could never hear it again, that would be fine.
Oh, it's sacrilege.
It's okay. I will say this. In a ranking of songs that I wish I'd never heard again, it ranks far above the song "Sweet Home Alabama" by Lynyrd Skynyrd. I hate that song.
Yes. That song is cancer.
Yes, that song's it's not good. So But anyway, that sounds like fun.
That sounds awesome.
It does sound pretty fun. I even like how Rock Robots plays into like the Japanese name for Mega Man, which is Rockman, or whatever. That would be pretty cool. Maybe
in Japan, would it be Rockman Mega Robots?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what if the concept was like Mega Man like had a new form that he would turn into, and it was Rockman, and that was the joke, right? Like in the English translation, but in the Japanese it was reversed, so they didn't get it. They just like, I don't know what doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I understand why he's called Rockman in Japan, but like after that first game came out in America, they should have just like gone with Mega Man for just across the board. It's just a better name.
Probably.
It's like, I
don't disagree.
It's like his name is Rock, and so then when he puts the helmet on, he's Rockman. It's like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do. It is weird in the like English translations how like Roll is his partner and stuff. Like it's supposed to be rock and roll, get it? And there's all these musical things that don't make sense when it's Mega Man, but at the same time,
right? I mean, that's why you have bass and treble in Mega Man 8, but like it doesn't hit as it doesn't make any sense,
right?
Unless you know the backstory, and also they call him Bass in the American version anyway.
That's better. I like that. I played the Bass. I play it all the time. I don't really play it all the time, but I play it. I know how to play it.
Yeah. I seem to remember you giving me crap for saying Bass a couple episodes ago.
I probably did.
All right, next up, San Andreas has a lengthy one, but I'm excited for this.
All right.
He says, I've always wanted to see a Mortal Kombat turn-based RPG done as a collaboration between NetherRealm Studios and Square Enix, and that dream actually dates back to when Mortal Kombat 3 and Final Fantasy VI were the latest and hottest games. I also wouldn't mind Obsidian taking a crack at Mortal Kombat, and they'd honestly be better suited for it, but Obsidian is now owned by Microsoft, and I'd rather not have to buy an Xbox to play an MK RPG. I want 2 fully explorable worlds. A fully explorable Earth realm with locales like Liu Kang's Shaolin Temple, Shang Tsung's Island, Chicago, and the surrounding environs, all of them connected through airports, as well as a fully explorable Outworld, where you get to visit the home realms of the Edenians, which are Katana's people, the Shokan, Goro's people, and the Tarkatan, Baraka's tribe. Dude, San Andreas has some... He's got some Mortal Kombat lore on lock.
Oh, yeah. Tarkatans,
yeah. He says, either a world map like a classic Japanese RPG or a fully explorable world along the lines of Fallout or Breath of the Wild. The time frame would be set during the first 3 games, where you'd witness the original Shaolin tournament and the fall of Earthrealm at the end of Mortal Kombat 2. I'd like to see turn-based combat spelled with a K, of course, with 4-person parties composed of various Mortal Kombat characters, with their signature moves either being executed through menu commands or simple controller motion techniques at the player's choice. And don't forget the fatalities, which could be the game's stand-in for limit breaks. The last dungeon would be Shao Kahn's palace. The opening would be a playable flashback sequence that ends with the death of the original Kung Lao at Goro's hands 500 years in the past. However, like with Final Fantasy VI, the playable characters would be overall an ensemble cast with no clear main character, and the story occasionally shifting focus between, say, Liu Kang, Scorpion, or Katana, much like how Final Fantasy VI shifted between Terra and Celis. The soundtrack would be a collaboration between Dan Toasty Forden and Yoko Shimomura. I've always felt that Mortal Kombat has far more lore than can really be explored within the limits of a one-on-one fighting game. Dude, yes. I like the fact that San Andreas picked a series that is known for some of the worst spin-offs of all time, but also has one of the best spin-offs of all time. Because Mortal Kombat Mythology, Sub-Zero, and Special Forces are dog shit, but Shaolin Monks is one of the best beat-em-ups I have ever played.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good game. This sounds really cool. Like, I could see this. I know like the middling PlayStation 2 era Mortal Kombat's like I remember those pretty well, like Deadly Alliance and all that stuff. The later ones, I always remember they had those like areas where you could like go walk around and like talk to people, and there was like kind of like side quest stuff, and like it added a lot to like the world that they were building. Like those games weren't that great. Like they didn't play very good or anything like that. I wasn't like the biggest fan of that era of Mortal Kombat, but I did think that open world like stuff was neat. It kept me entertained. Like I played that a lot of that stuff, and just to like, oh yeah, I can't remember all the stuff you could do in that. I keep thinking there was like sort of an RPG thing there, but I can't remember exactly.
There were some different iterations on it, because there was one game, and I forget which one. It must have been the second game that came out on PS2, because I didn't play the last one, but it actually, I think you actually created a character, and it had like some third person like role playing parts to it, and I think you were able to actually fight, and I think he was just like kind of based on a template of like one of the characters, sort of like a Soul Blade created character type thing.
I think I remember how this worked. There wasn't I don't think there was a character creator in it, but there was a character that you could only play as in that mode. And
that might be it, right? He was just like a standard Shaolin monk, wasn't he? Or something like that? He was
something like that. Or he was like some sort of god or something like that that didn't have much going on. And you could give him, I keep thinking you could give him like different styles or something like that. And that's how you could switch things up. Something. I don't remember exactly. Or he could turn into different people. So like you walked around as this dude, but like you fought as like Jade or whoever. I can't remember how that worked. I really, the create a combatant thing that you're thinking of was the last game, and that one was really bad. That was,
and I didn't play that one, so maybe I just saw
you didn't miss anything.
Coverage.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything. That one was, they threw it had the biggest roster of guys ever. Like they threw every single guy in that game.
Yeah.
But they took out fatalities because they added so much to it. So like, instead of like a fatality, you had create a fatality. So like you would just like walk up and do like generic moves. Everybody had the same thing. Nobody was unique or anything. So it was really kind of lame. Like I remember, if I remember correctly, you pressed like a button combination and it went into the create a fatality thing at the end. It wasn't even like a big to do like button combination or anything. It was not a good game. I'll put it like that. It was not a good game.
Was that the one that had Mortal Kombat go-karts, or was that?
That was the one that was Armageddon. Yeah, that was the one that had Mortal Kombat karts, or combat karts, or fucking something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the one before that had like Mortal Kombat, like Tetris, or something. It was like some puzzle game.
It was some puzzle game or something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I totally agree with San Andreas. I think that the lore of Mortal Kombat lends itself to a lot of really cool spin-offs. I think especially a role-playing game.
Yeah, there's a lot of like realms and stuff that, aren't, fully explored that you could do a lot of stuff with. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go sailing on the sea of blood.
Yes. All right, Justin. Well, why don't we move on?
All right. Well, up next we have our old buddy Bookie.
We do.
And he has this to say about his video game spin-offs. And he says, I've always been fascinated by the operator type role in video games. They're not the action hero, though often they're a specialist in something. They're always giving much needed advice over a radio, attack the glowing thing, or hacking systems, or dealing with the black market to fund the hero's expeditions. For instance, Mega Man Legends has a role as part archaeologist, part inventor / shop, part ship captain, and a billion games have that hacker sidekick. I'm not sure exactly how a game would work, but I imagine it involving a lot of simulation stuff rather than hand-wavy systems the hero calls in, or situations which involve branching choice and trade-off. Now that I think about it, I've heard of a recent game where you play as a radio commander giving audio orders to platoons during the Vietnam War, and it looks like they're working on a couple hacking games, so it seems like I'm not the only one who has had this idea.
My only question is, do I get to be the person who screws over the main character at the end with my sudden but obvious betrayal?
You're gonna matchstick men the fuck out of them? Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, or like, Master Miller in Metal Gear Solid. Or Atlas on BioShock. Like,
right.
The guy in the headset has a has a weird penchant for actually like being the bad guy at the end.
You get to pick the moment of your betrayal, or like, I hope you, can I have the line where I just get to announce that I'm betraying the other person? Like, I'm betraying you now. Like,
yes.
watch as I betray you.
But Brookie's games, or his idea, kind of reminds me of a couple games. One is Lifeline from Konami on the PlayStation 2, where it actually had like a headset, and you gave like voice commands. Like basically you were the person on the headset, kind of like using like the cameras to tell the main character where she needed to go.
Yeah.
And what to do. And then also there's that game from Camouflage called Republique, and I think it came out for iOS first, but I think it's on other things now, or maybe not. It might only be on mobile phones, but it's a similar type of thing where you're communicating with a character via, like, you know, you're basically telling them where they need to go because you're looking at the big picture and telling them where, you know, what's coming for them.
Right. So it's like the side quest or the mini game in Final Fantasy VII where you wave your comrades to get through little cover parts. It's
sure.
Like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
exactly like that.
That's I'm kidding. It doesn't sound anything like that. That part sucks.
Yeah, I'm glad that was not in.
I was kind of glad it wasn't there too. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, next up on Pixelbit is Daft Man, who says, I think Castlevania would make for an awesome turn-based RPG. The series already has a rich lore of characters and monsters to pull from, and there's precedent for the use of all kinds of weapons and magic. Give me, say, a 4-person party and a fun twist on the art style. I don't want realism. How about a gothic painting style like the box art for the Symphony and the GBA games? And I think you'd have a winner. This would also work as a dungeon crawler, delving deeper into Dracula's castle each time, but I'd rather have a straight RPG. Sold again. It's interesting, Justin. It almost seems like people are really jonesing for maybe a 4-member party turn-based role-playing setup. It's almost like people are starved for that type of gameplay. I don't know.
Right. Unfortunately, I don't think Konami really gives a shit. So
they don't. But I keep saying, and I would love to actually be this person, but what Konami should do is just like set up an office and staff it with a couple people, and their only job is to field pitches of companies that were saying like, hey, we want to do this with a certain IP. And then if it's a good idea, then they greenlight it. They don't, I mean, the company still has to come up, like Konami wouldn't be publishing it. They wouldn't be, they wouldn't be putting any publishing money into it, right? They would just be allowing the developer to license. Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, cause they've got some of the best, some of the best properties in video games, and they clearly don't want to do anything with them. So just let other people do it. Like, you don't have anything to lose.
Yeah, they really don't. They just have stuff to gain, and it will help their pachinko machines or whatever the hell they're making now. Yeah. Mobile games, it'll help those sell. Like, why not? Like,
yeah. They can put extra machines in their gyms. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know what they're doing, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, it'd be really cool. Like, I was, like, when I was thinking about this game, I was thinking of, like, almost like Persona anime style, because, like, you could kind of make a really cool, like, tie into that Netflix anime. Maybe not fully, but, like, just, like, kind of make it feel like that style, because people like have seen that show that don't even know what Castlevania is. And I know you may think that that's bullshit, but it's actually true.
No, dude, I have come to the realization that there is a rabid fandom for that Castlevania cartoon that is not necessarily like people who are fans of the video game. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like you could really cash in on something like that, especially with like a turn-based RPG, because those are a little bit easier to play. Like, you know, even if I don't know video games that much, like I can definitely, you know, hit a button and tell the guy to hit the guy. Like it would work, you know? So, I mean, that's why, you know, Final Fantasy VII, you know, say what you want about it, but like the original was popular because everybody could play it. It was menu based. You just picked a thing and it did the thing. That's it. So that's, you know, part of the reason of its success, really.
Yeah. I mean, we had a customer in our store. He was an older guy. Like, I think at the time he would have been in his mid 60s. And he bought damn near every role-playing game that ever came out, while I was working there, because he could play them. Like, he loved video games, but he couldn't do action stuff. And so sometimes he would buy a game and he would bring it back within the 3 days turnaround that we had. Right. Cause he was like, it's too fast paced. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's too actiony. I just want I just want turn based, and so but yeah, but he played the hell out of those games.
Exactly. Yeah, people like to. There's a good segment of people that play games that just want to take things at their own pace, and give me something like that. That'd be great. Castlevania lore is really cool. So
yeah, it
why
is.
not?
And dude, and like Daftman says, if they could make it look, I forget her name, but look like the character designer's art from the Egavania era.
Yes.
Actually look like the art and not just like an approximation of it. Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Maybe we say fuck Castlevania and we just make a bloodstained RPG.
There we go.
With that. That'd be cool. Yeah. We could get that. We could probably get Ega into that. I feel like we could.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
now
buy him a new cowboy hat and whip and he's in.
Exactly. Buy him a new throne, a new goblet. He'll be fine.
God, that announced trailer was one of the best things.
It was great. I love it. That was so good. All right. We're over on Twitter now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. We are over on twitter.com. These next replies come from twitter.com, and you can send us DMs over on twitter.com at NWPcast.
Stop saying twitter.com.
And over on twitter.com, we have Xavier Krieger, and he is at Cadus Bane, and that is at twitter.com.
Son of a bitch.
He has this to say about video game spin-offs. He says, I think the easy spin-off that I'll just quickly mention is a single-player focused Overwatch game. I'd love to be able to play through short sessions as the different characters with all the different playstyles, but my actual choice is a spin-off of all the Nintendo games, or maybe just Smash. I want a Nintendo Universe game in the style of Persona Dancing. I want a big nonsense storyline. I want remixes of all the greatest Nintendo music. I'd even be okay with them using the Smash Ultimate versions of the music, and I want crazy dancing animations for Ganondorf, Piranha Plant, Samus, Charizard, and the whole gang. Extra points if they can get characters like Snake or Sonic. Add in fun power ups UPS/attacks? Okay. Ups/attacks in a competitive mode, featuring items such as blue shell, delay inputs for a few seconds, mushroom characters get bigger and steals the focus for a score multiplier, or tons of other possibilities.
Xavier Krieger is also pandering directly to me, and I'm here for it. Totally into that.
You guys in your rhythm action games. No, that'd be fun. I would find that entertaining.
I would too. But honestly, even though he glossed over it, I would actually be more excited for a Overwatch spinoff, like a single player Overwatch game. Yeah. And again, it's a franchise where you could go anywhere with it, right? I would love absolutely. A Diablo style game. I would love an XCOM style game. I would love a character action game. And you don't have to use all the characters, obviously. There could be one that's only focused on Tracer, right?
Right.
And you could have a 4-player co-op cover-based shooter, that deals with I guess the bad guys, right? You could have Reaper and Widowmaker, and I forget the other two that are kind of always teamed up.
Yeah.
But you could have a game based on them. There's all sorts of stuff you could do with those characters.
I forgot his name. The guy who has he has rollerblades and
no, not Zenyatta.
You know who he can skate on walls and stuff like that. He almost plays he almost looks like a character out of oh god, I forgot the game.
It looks like a Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set Radio. That was exactly what I was trying to think of. Thank you.
I cannot think of his name for the life of me, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
People are yelling at us right now.
Exactly.
He's one of the most popular characters.
I know. I can't think of his name. Oh, he's a cool character anyway. There's actually a really cool, I believe there's a demo of somebody made a third person version of a game starring that character, and shows all the wall runs and stuff like that he would do in third person, and it looks awesome. And I want that game. Make that. Man. Just make third person, a third person, single player focused, Overwatch game. There's so much cool lore, and it's not it would be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And their designs are super evocative. And, I'm a big fan of just kind of Blizzard as a company's, art style.
Yeah.
right? Like that's one of the reasons that I love Diablo 3 so much is because it's got like this chunky armor style that you see in like World of Warcraft and Overwatch, and it just really works for me. And yeah, man, I'd be totally into whatever they wanted to do with those characters.
Yeah, me too. Cause I don't like competitive multiplayer stuff. It's not my thing, but like if you give me a single player focused campaign type thing, I'd be all about it. That'd be so cool. And I even played Overwatch because I thought the characters were that cool looking. So, you know.
That's kind of how I got into it. And then like when they were doing those like character introduction trailers, like all of those were
those
amazing.
Are so cool. Yeah, they're so great.
I mean,
like,
I would watch an Overwatch movie. It done in that style.
Me too. And like, there's so much cool stuff that you could do there. Like, there's so much money to be made, but maybe like Activision demanding like more releases from Blizzard may play into something like that. Maybe we'll get something, but like, cause Blizzard's like notoriously picky with what they put out. So
they are. And honestly, I've been surprised that there hasn't been a noticeable shift in Blizzard's output since the merger. Cause you know, I mean, we're getting Diablo 4 much faster than we got Diablo 3, but even so, like, their output has still been pretty sporadic. You know, like, they definitely let their games sit for a long time before they move on to something else. Which isn't terrible, but, you know, I wouldn't mind more games from that company.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a lot of longevity, and, you know, they stick to, you know, what works for them. They you know, they've made so much money off of WoW and all that stuff, and, you know, that's awesome that their games have that kind of staying power, but at the same time, like, they have really cool ideas, I would imagine, and they seem like a really great developer. Obviously, they're really focused on quality. So I would love to see more games from them. But at the same time, like, I do respect how picky they are at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah,
I feel I'm really torn on them. Like, cause like, I'm like, I wish I could see more games from Blizzard, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, but I'm glad they're picky because then, you know, usually I know when a Blizzard game comes out that it's probably going to be pretty decent at least.
Yeah, you know, because the other side of that coin is what happened to BioWare, right? Like EA has pretty much cannibalized that poor studio, and it's a shadow of its former self at this point. So
absolutely,
yeah,
sad stuff.
It is. All right, well, we're gonna move on because Jeffka's comment is not sad. He's on Twitter at Jestoff, and he says, "This one took me a while, but I finally came up with something I think would be pretty awesome. I've recently gotten back into a huge Monster Hunter binge, and it's consuming my video game life. Please help. Aside from that, I started thinking, what if you could collect all the monsters and create a zoo-like area for them? I'm thinking something like Zoo Tycoon, but with a Monster Hunter flair. Get these awesome forces of nature together, build habitats, put on shows, learn to treat the monsters right, and maybe even form a bond with your new tenants. Obviously, this strays from Zoo Tycoon's basic gameplay, but a deeper experience would really help in bringing these creatures into their own. Also, it'd be fun to release a pickle monster into the populace when I get bored." I don't know what a pickle monster is, but I think what he's saying is that you do get to do, like, you can just, like, unleash the monsters on the unwitting population, and so now I'm in.
All right. See, when I read this, I immediately got the idea of, like, okay, what if Monster Hunter, but mixed with Stardew Valley? And we take, like, and you make little, like, barns and stuff, and you, like, raise the little monster people, and you have, like, your, I don't know what all the monsters are in Monster Hunter, I'm sorry. Rathalos, I know that name.
I know Rathalos, I know Jibanyan is...
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I think that's Yokai Watch. No, I'm Rathalos, yeah, that's
okay,
the one.
Rathalos, that's the one we know. Great, we're doing awesome.
Devil Joe. That's
Devil Joe. That was exactly what I was trying to think of too, because I knew it was like something stupid. Yeah, you know, you have those guys, and they have like a big pen, right? And then like you plant, farm stuff, and you have to feed the monsters and stuff like that. And then you can go like talk to the kitty people that make food, and those are the shopkeepers. I would play that game. It'd be very cute. It'd be like,
man.
I'd be into it. Let's do that. That'd be good. But yeah, Zoo Tycoon would be pretty fun too. I love the old Tycoon games. They kind of fell off at whatever point. I think I tried to play the newest Roller Coaster Tycoon. That game's a piece of garbage. But I used to love those games. Like, I used to just have fun, like, making roller coasters that launched into nothing and were just big ramps into death. That shit was hilarious. Don't tell me, like, you never did that if you played those games. Whether on purpose or by accident. But, I could see that. Could see that working for Monster Hunter. People might get into that. So that's a good idea.
I think so too. Yeah. And I mean, Capcom is kind of on a roll right now, so
why not? Yeah, they are on a roll. They are on a roll. Like his idea I could definitely see as like probably being a mobile game. Like,
oh sure,
yeah, that would probably best fit for that, and that would be a fun mobile game. I'd play the shit out of that on a phone. Okay, I probably wouldn't. I don't play anything on my phone, but beside the point, other people would. All right. Up next on Twitter.com, we have Red Venom, and he is at Zakeli7 on Twitter.com. This is what his stage select sounds like on Twitter.com. He says, I've been playing a lot of Diablo 3 on the Switch recently, and while seeing numbers go up and hordes of demons die in glorious ways is fun, I think after a point it gets kind of repetitive.
How dare.
So stay a while and listen to my Diablo spin-off game idea. Tristram and the Curse of the Skeleton King, a remake of Diablo 1 in the guise of Deckard Cain, retelling to a young Leah the story of Tristram and the events that followed in the first game. The actual game is a Dark Souls clone with the familiar Diablo loot system, a downward spiral through the labyrinthian Tristram crypts. The more you descend, the more your sanity is affected, and things start looking out of this world and hellish. The level design is static, with interconnecting areas, a bonfire-type system that manages your sanity, but the less sanity you have, the harder the game is. Enemies become tougher and better loot. The enemies are fewer than a regular Diablo game, I'm going to correct that, but with the sanity system, the order and number of enemies changes dynamically. Combat is more slow-paced with an emphasis on one-on-one combat, block, evade, and stagger tactics. Skills are more weapon-bound. He says, you want a ground slam, get a mallet. Want an AoE spell, use a staff instead of a wand, etc. Basic 3-class system of warrior, rogue, mage, and depending on equipment, a more niche subclass. Due to the static levels design, the repeatability is more limited than a traditional Diablo game, but this is more of a love letter to the fans of the first game in a different light. So he wants Eternal Darkness meets Dark Souls meets Diablo.
Yes, and that actually sounds really cool to me.
That sounds really interesting. I'm not going to lie, yeah.
Apparently, obviously this was before Dark Souls was a thing, but that's more of what Diablo 3 was moving towards before it finally came out. They were going for a slower paced, like behind the back third person action RPG. And then they scrapped that and went with like a much more traditional Diablo style game.
Interesting.
And I would be totally like down for that. My only request is that, you know, as my numbers get bigger, if I go back to the upper areas, I still want to be able to just like plow through early enemies.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't want to still have to be worrying about like evading and like parrying, you know, when I'm like geared up with like legendaries, right? I need that power fantasy of just like, no, I'm just one-shotting everything now because that I put the time in. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, I know like in like Dark Souls, from what I've heard is like you can really kind of like do it kind of like a grindy RPG type thing and sit there and gain your skills up and do like a like kind of a grind thing and then like get to where you're a little bit more powered than you should be to go into the next area. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know much about Souls games, guys. I don't play those. But yeah, like that would be cool. Like, yeah, you have to have that Diablo feel where like going back to older areas makes it like, oh yeah, I've definitely come a long way from here. You know, like that's always like a great feeling. I always love that feeling in any game when you go back to like the starting area and you just beat up that guy that used to give you shit in like one shot. Fuck you, Midgar Zolom. That's always fun.
Yeah, and I gotta say, because like, you know, definitely after playing so much Diablo 3 and then seeing other games that have tried to implement like a loot system, it's real easy to get that wrong. And so I would be much like I would be totally down for this type of game if it's Blizzard doing it, because I wouldn't be as confident if From was going to put like a Diablo style loot system into like Dark Souls 4, because I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, it's real easy to get this real wrong. Like, that's my thing with like the recent Assassin's Creed games, the last Shadow of War game. There was another one that's coming out. where they're like, oh, we got a loot system. And I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, that doesn't look quite right. Like, I don't know if you understand, like, what makes a loot system fun.
Yeah. It's a tough system to get right. Like, I've been playing that, I was playing that one game,
it was Ghost of Tsushima. That was the one that I looked at. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to have to play this, but it doesn't look quite right to me.
I'm still really excited about that.
Me too. That's one of the big games that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I like that they showed that one recently in The Last of Us 2, and I was like, Last of Us 2, man, I wish Last of Us 2 wasn't a horror game in certain areas. Like, I wish they just didn't have, like, I was so into, like, the way that game looked. I'm sorry I'm getting off topic. Everyone.
No, not at all. You're done.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Man, I watched that thing, and I got, like, goosebumps at how, like, awesomely brutal that game was. There's something so raw about, like, the way she, like, stabs people and all this stuff. It's so, like, vicious and, like, realistic and, like, cool looking. And I was like, and then they were like, and also we have the zombies, and these ones hide from you and come out when you least expect it. I was like, fuck you. I was like, fuck you. I'm not playing this game now. Like, I can't.
I was just about to say, I was like, but, you know, Last of Us, like, the first one, it wasn't like a jump scary game. It was more of just like, here's this part where you got to stealth through these clickers, and if they grab you, it's a little bit of a shock, but that's kind of expecting it. But okay, that changes things.
That was the part, because I was like, you know what, I might give this a chance, and then they said that, and I was like, come on, man, I don't want that. I just wanted to, like, stab the dudes because, like, that stealth looks cool, and, like, all the animations look so good in that game. God, they're so good.
I didn't look at the presentation because I was like, I'm going to play this eventually, and I already know there's so many spoilers out there.
I was gonna say, I do know what happens because I was curious. I had to know.
Yeah. I'm torn because on one hand, like, you know, I haven't really bought anything in a while, and, you know, like, I don't know if I'm going to go back to Doom anytime soon. But that's the thing is that I think The Last of Us 2 is the same situation as Doom, where it's like, I don't know if I have the mental capacity to play through a game that dark and serious right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to play it before it gets spoiled for me, because I am invested in the character and what happens to her. So it's like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
And this is one of those things that I think after I take a look at it, like after it comes out, because I'll probably end up watching it. I know how you know me.
Yeah.
After that, I'll probably have a little bit more to say about it. But I know, knowing what happens, I have some thoughts, and the leaks could be totally off. I don't know actually what happens. They could change everything, but like knowing what happens, I'm like, I have some thoughts, and I have to see it play out. It may be genius the way it plays out. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, that's our stage select.
That is our
thanks
stage
for listening. Indeed. Yeah.
Which means that it's time for you to let us know what we're doing for the next stage select, Justin. It's your turn.
Oh, yeah. So let's go with something a little bit easier this time, Julian. Something that people don't have to, like, work their brains over too much. Not that I don't like to do it, because I like to be creative and think of fun stuff, but at the same time, like, we'll give our listeners a break and make it a little bit easier for them. So as we all know, June, the most holy of months, very religious time of the year. It's the time where we all think about religious things, because reasons. So I want to know what people's favorite video game religions are, or cults. Cults work too. They're religious. But I've found a lot of them interesting as of late, and I'm curious to see what other ones there are in the world of video games. So let's put that out there for our listeners and see what they come up with.
Man, that's a big ask, Justin. There's so many JRPGs where you kill God.
Exactly. What are your favorites, though? Now you have to narrow it down to 3. Good luck.
All right. Well, we're going to want those submissions by 8:30 Central Time. Let's see, when is that? On June 12th. That's the next time we'll be recording, assuming that everything goes well. So as always, you can go to pixelbit.com and comment in the show thread for episode 177. You can DM us on Twitter at NWPcast, or you can head on over to facebook.com/nerdswithoutpants podcast and send us a message there or post on the wall. And that's it for this stage select. Let's go ahead and jump on into Consumption Junction.
Woo!
And Justin, all I know, I don't know what you've played since the last time we recorded. All I know is that you're way ahead of me on Xbox Live achievements for this month so far. And I don't know how that happened. Well, actually, I do, because the game that I'm playing is very stingy on achievements. But
there's a lot of them like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what happened this month. I'll share the game that did it. I didn't even have this on my list, but I played a game called Ganbare Super Strikers, which is it's actually pretty interesting. I played all the way through it. Obviously, I platinumed it or whatever, which was pretty easy. All you had to do was go through the levels and you do it. But it's a turn-based strategy soccer game. So yeah, exactly.
Genres mean nothing anymore.
Yeah, it was weird. You're playing as these Japanese, like a Japanese local team, and you're just you basically, it's a turn-based strategy game, but you have to pass the ball, and you get super attacks that super slide, and it'll freeze the guy and stuff like that. It's actually kind of neat and worth checking out. I don't know if I'd recommend paying money for it, but if you ever see it on sale or something for pretty cheap and you're I would like a turn-based strategy that's pretty easy. I got my ass kicked for a while because I don't understand how soccer works.
Right.
And then when I figured that out, I was like, oh yeah, I remember how soccer works because offsides is bullshit. Take that, soccer fans. Your sport has weird rules. It was entertaining, but that's the game I platinum. That's why I'm way ahead of you.
Gotcha.
Because I played a dumb bullshit indie game that just practically gave away achievements.
Okay. And meanwhile, I'm playing a role-playing game that's nah, son, you've got to do everything in this game if you want,
exactly.
even a third of these achievements.
The other game I was playing that I believe I was ridiculed on Twitter for, unfairly, was, I was playing Super Mega Baseball 3. Cause listen, I like dumb baseball games. I really do. When I was a kid, I used to own Ken Griffey Jr. Major League Baseball, and that was one of my favorite games. It was arcadey.
Call me Junior. Call me Junior.
Dude, that's the track right there. Hell yeah, that shit's great. But I don't, that wasn't on Super Nintendo.
That was the N64 one. I have vivid memory. That is right up there with Buck Bumble as far as earworms from the N64.
Oh, shit, man. That shit was fire though. I played that one too. Actually, funny you mentioned the N64 one. This one, this game plays a lot like that actually. So it's a little bit more arcadey, and it kind of has that sim baseball thing where you got to kind of track where the ball is during the pitch, but it kind of has a nice little auto aim thing. And as you turn the difficulty up, that goes down. But I kind of found a nice little sweet spot where the game wasn't too easy because I was smacking home runs with people that had no business smacking home runs and stuff like that. But, I sort of decided to buy it because I seen Dan Reichert was playing it and I was like, oh yeah, that looks kind of fun. Him and, I forgot Dan Mahardy. Mm-hmm. They were both playing it, and I was like, "Oh, that kind of looks like fun." I like arcadey baseball games. I'll check this out. And it had a ton of customization options, which me, I love me some customization options. So I was like, "I'm gonna check this out," and it was neat. I eventually was like, "Okay, it's a baseball game." Kind of bored with it, and kind of moved on with my life. But for what it was, not bad. If you ever in the mood for a baseball game that's not like MLB The Show or something. Why not? Check it out. They break the bats over their knees, and that made me happy. Okay, that's a Griffey Jr. move.
Yeah, I was just surprised to see you playing a sports ball game because I was like, Justice playing sports ball.
Yeah, if it's over the top and stupid, man, I'm all for it. NFL Blitz or NBA Jam, this. Yeah,
I am down for those anytime.
This one's over the top as it gets. You can hit the pitch back at the pitcher, and it will they are dead. It looks like they died. It's amazing. The few times I've done it, it's awesome. So, stuff like that. Let's see. What else did I play, Julian? I played a game called Time Lie. This one's an interesting one. So What this is, and here's another wing, genres don't matter anymore. This is a time manipulation stealth puzzle game.
Okay.
Did you get all that? Yeah.
All
okay.
right. I'm kind of wrapping my mind around that.
All right.
I think I can see that.
Let me make the biggest comparison to you that you'll definitely get, and you might dig it for this. Reminds me up and down of the Gardens Between.
Okay.
Basically, you have like a rewind feature, and you have like this is a tough one to explain. So you're a little girl who has no defense mechanism outside of like the fact that you can rewind time, and you get a few other little things like you can fix stuff and you can use dial pads and stuff like that. You also get a cat that can meow, and you have to control both of them. And your goal is to avoid these robots that are a lot faster than you. And they have like, the typical stealth game vision cone displayed, like the light source and everything. And basically like you can basically make it to where you can fast forward through the entire thing, see their path, and then you have to pick which path you go. And it's kind of like almost tile based, like you're selecting where you want to go. You have to be at the right place at the right time. And some of those puzzles are really hard. Like they get really complex and cool. I really enjoyed this one. It was nice. Like there were puzzles that like I had to really like try hard to figure out what the hell they wanted from me. And then when you figured it out, it was like, oh, that was awesome. Like I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I figured it out. And there was some that I thought I felt really smart for too. Like I was like, there's a mechanic in the game where there's these, the part of the level is crumbling behind you. So you have to be faster than that. You have to outpace that the entire time. So you have to be in front of it. And then if it hits you, you die. And I was like, oh man, I can't get past this one guy because he's just right there. But if I timed it just right, I could time it to where I was just in front of that part of the level that was crumbling, and it would hit him right before he caught me. So he would die before he actually got me. And it was like cool that rule applied to the enemies as well. So it's a neat little game. Like don't expect much in terms of story or anything. Like there's not much, seems like there's not much going there. Like, it's cute. I liked a good amount of the music. It wasn't like over the top great or anything, but it was fine. And it's worth checking out. Maybe, like this is one, like it'd be a great Switch game or something like that. Like, right. It's not, super intensive or anything like that. If you see it on sale or like a Game Pass game, like if I seen this for free, I'd definitely give it a shot. Like I said, it plays a lot like the Gardens Between, but it definitely has its own spin. And like me describing it is like, it's a little tough to describe because even when I took a look at it, I was like, I'm not sure how this works exactly. But then you get in there and you're like, oh, okay, got it. Okay, this is cool.
I'm assuming you played this on PC then?
Yes, this was on PC. Let's see. I played it actually. The next couple games I played were on PC. So, the other one is a game called. Now we're in visual novel territory. Sorry, everyone. But this one's neat. I swear both of these are actually pretty cool. This one is called, If Found. And the concept is you play as an eraser and you're basically reading this like, what's the term? We'll say they're transgender person. You're reading the transgender person's, journal basically, and it's based in Ireland. There's a lot of like Irish slang and stuff like that, and the entire concept is you play as this eraser and you're erasing everything in the journal as you go. So you're learning the story, you're reading it, and then you're like erasing things that are crossed out so that you can read them, and then you erase over that. And it's weird and it almost kind of makes you feel bad. The story's really good though. Really out of this world. I really, really liked the art style because it was like journal drawings come to life type thing. It was really neat. Had some really good music in it too. And, it was just a really nice story, honestly. So, worth checking out if you, are into stuff like that, I guess. Just like, it's like a 2-hour, 3-hour game. It's just a nice little story to like kind of make you feel good, I guess. It has kind of
reminds me of Gone Home.
A little bit. Yeah. It gave me that kind of vibes too. Exactly that. But like really unique concept. The only complaint I have about the game is, when you don't play as the eraser, at least on PC, and they may patch this, I don't know, the cursor's a little bit too small for me. That might have been a resolution thing because I kind of tend to mess up resolution numbers a lot. So, but like I had a real tough time. Now, granted, my vision's not the best, Julian. I fully acknowledge that, but this is a white cursor on a like almost white background with a really thin black line. Like, and not an arrow, a circle. Like there were times where I was I can't find where this thing is at all. Like
it's a pixel hunt for the same color pixel as a lot of the
exactly. It needed like to be inverted or something. Like they needed that option, so just so you could see it, because when it's on that white, almost white background, it's real tough to pick out. That's my only complaint about it, though. Other than that, I found it really enjoyable. And then the last one. Okay, here we go. This was one I hinted at on my other podcast, but here we go. Okay. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to recommend a game right off the rip, and I'm just going to tell you the name of it. It is called You and Me and Her, A Love Story. Now, I know what that sounds like. I know it doesn't sound like it's much of anything. The best way to go into this is completely blind and just trust my judgment. It is a visual novel. If that's not your thing, totally get it. The only thing I will warn that isn't spoilery is there are some really gross fucking sex scenes in it. But that's only if you play the uncensored version, and you have to go out of your way to do that. Because I got the game early. I went on the developer's website, which is Jazz USA, and you can download the game from there. Basically, yeah, they're real gross. But the thing about it is, there's also some weird character development in it, and they're done for a reason. So there's the Steam version doesn't have any of this. You can always go look that stuff up later if what I'm saying is piquing your interest at all. I guarantee you this part isn't. But like, just trust me, play it blind. It's the best way to do it. And now I'm going to give a countdown because I have to those that haven't interested, I'm going to tell you exactly what this is. Okay. After 5, we're in spoiler territory, not full spoiler territory. I'm not going to tell you the entire game. I'm just going to tell you what it is. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Record. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Okay, great. Julian, do you remember our podcast that we did with Rob where you guys recommended to me a bunch of horror stuff?
Yes.
And then at the end, I gave a weird Japanese game called Kimi to Konojo to Konojo no Koi. That is this game. The English translation of that is You and Me and Her, A Love Story. So what this game is it's basically where DDLC, Doki Doki Literature Club, it's basically where it got its entire concept from.
Okay, I do remember you talking about this now, yeah.
This game fucking goes places, dude. It's fucking weird and crazy. So the thing I like about this one, maybe a little bit more than DDLC, but maybe not as much. It's kind of a toss up. They're really their own games. I know the guy who made Doki Doki Literature Club really did take inspiration from this, but they are really their own things. Because this one, Doki Doki Literature Club, definitely lets you know kind of early. There's a build up to what's going to happen in it, to the, craziness that's going to ensue. But it hits pretty suddenly and it hits pretty early. This one is a much, much slower burn. This one, you could play this entire game and never know there was anything with it at all. In fact, it's only through the little hints that the game gives you that there's something more there. There's a part pretty early on, and I won't spoil it, that I was, because it's a really run of the mill, sweet-hearted, lighthearted thing where you're just, oh yeah, this is a, dating visual novel, whatever. And then all of a sudden, one character says something that just is what the fuck was that? What? And you're just, and it throws you off guard, and it even throws the character that you're playing as off guard. And it's really something. And so you play through to the end of the first thing, and the game is kind of telling you what to do. There's the entire concept, I guess, is kind of one of the girls there has what they call gamer brain or something. And she's kind of like, hey, I'm just trying to save the game, and it'll just like say save the game. And every time it said that, I was like, maybe I should save the game right here. I don't know. So it's kind of leading you in these weird directions. It's really interesting, and it takes a while for the crazy to happen. But when you find it, oh boy, is that moment worth it. And if you really want to delve into something cool and interesting, like, even knowing that this was going to happen for me, when it did happen, I was like, holy shit, that was amazing. Like, I might actually send Julian a video of this later, because I'm like, you might really dig this part, man. So,
well, let me ask you, is it just a moment, or is it like a moment that kicks off like,
oh, it's a moment that kicks off the real shit.
Okay.
The real here's the thing. For this to happen, it's almost 2 entire playthroughs of the regular game. Now that sounds like a long time, but you can actually just skip through entire parts of the game, and the skip is fast. Like it'll fast forward like straight to the parts that you haven't seen, and it stops at dialogue you haven't seen. And in fact, that's a feature, because like when you get to parts that are like green dialogue, means you've seen the dialogue already. That means you did it wrong. Do it again. Go load your save again, or something like that. And I didn't realize that was a feature until towards the end, when I started being like, how come I'm only getting the same shit? What am I doing wrong? And I had to keep going back through it and keep trying it again. And when it happened, holy shit. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. So if you're a fan of psychological horror games, this shit's really cool. Like, I gotta recommend it on that front, but hopefully you took my, actually, even if, when like, I knew what it was, and I was like, still like, wow, that was awesome. So,
yeah.
Highly recommended from me. Like I said, I might have to show Julian this moment later, because I think you'll get a real big kick out of it, man.
It's a hard line to walk, because like you were saying on your idea for a Resident Evil spinoff, where it's almost like you need them to not let the player know what the game actually is until really deep in. I agree with that for like certain bigger games. Like there was one I was thinking about, and I don't remember what it was, because when you brought up your idea, it reminded me of this thought that I had a week ago or so, and I don't remember what I was talking about. But I would love that, where it's like, you think you're going into this like well-known franchise game or whatever, right, and then all of a sudden, like, it turns in such a way, and you're like, this is completely different than what I was expecting. Right. But I think in a situation like this, where it's this like small indie game where nobody's like really going to pay attention to it unless you know the thing, like, it's almost like you kind of got to advertise it without like showing too much, right?
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that. Okay, so this game came out originally in 2012. This is actually a really old game. Like I said, it kind of inspired Doki Doki Literature Club. What ended up happening, so this was made by Nitro Plus. They made a lot of like, pretty popular visual novels. They made Steins Gate, which is, that's one of the better known ones. It's actually pretty well made. It has a really good story. I loved the anime. I didn't know it was a visual novel, and I absolutely adored the anime when I watched it. I thought it was a really cool concept, and I think I own the visual novels. I just never got around to playing them yet, because I'm weird. I don't know why. But what ended up happening is they released this game, and fans got really upset. Fans of their normal stuff, because their ideas are usually really innovative. They kind of pride themselves on making not just a visual novel. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's a visual novel with a concept or something more to it. And people were like, why? They're clearly leaning into, this is a thing that's selling. And then eventually the game didn't sell very well, so they released a second trailer. I might send you that too, of what they actually ended up sending out to people. They were like, hey guys, listen, it's not just that. Seriously, look. and then people went, oh, but this game only was never popular enough. That's why nobody really ever heard of it. In fact, there's like, if you go like watch videos of it, like, people are like, look at this shit copying Doki Doki Literature Club. It's the other way around.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The game didn't sell well, and that's why it never got translated to English. But, slowly over time, and with, Doki Doki Literature Club getting popular and, becoming a thing, people started to hear about this game, and it started to get, like, I heard about it from stuff like that. So it's good now that it's out on Steam, and I believe it was on like, it definitely came up on like the well curated list or whatever. So that's, it's doing something, and I really hope it sells well, because it's man, that part is really good. Like that's all I'm saying, man. It's so cool. And I really like a lot of the things it does. The uncensored version, like, is a little much, but at the same time, it adds to that psychological horror. Like, there's something horrific and gross about reading it that's really uncomfortable. Like, I've watched porn with more subtlety.
That's what made Corpse Party so scary for me, is a lot of the dialogue, and then also with the audio, because you have the voice acting in there, but also like some of the Foley work, like I think I've talked before about like when a character hangs herself and you hear that the sound of that rope as the body is like hanging from it, and it's like, it's a very, like, they don't show it, but it's like your brain does all of the heavy lifting on that, and it makes it far scarier than it would have been if they had shown it.
Right. Yeah. This one, man, I feel like you're really gonna like this. I already like looked up the YouTube video earlier. I was like, I think I might send this to Julian, because I feel like he'll really appreciate this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool. Like I said, I don't want to go into too much about what happens or anything like that, but if you're like, Justin, I'm not finding what the hell you get about this game, just keep looking. You haven't found it yet. Trust me. You'll know when it happens. It's awesome.
You should definitely, or when I'm doing the editing, like, I think what I'll do is I'll like, I might just go ahead and pick it up now, but then I think I would save that for like October, because that just seems like, the time.
The game itself. Yeah. Well, in that case, maybe I won't send you the thing, because like, this is a really cool moment. I don't want to spoil it. Like,
well, send me that trailer though.
Okay. I'll send you the trailer.
Yeah. Okay.
That sounds good. The trailer, well, I'll see. I'll take a look at the trailer before I send it to you, because it might be a little too much. But
for example, like, I am interested in playing Doki Doki Literature Club because I know some of the weird shit, and that interests me. Because normally I'm not going to play a visual novel, but I will play one with a twist. And
this one, like I said, it's a slow burn. And there's going to be times where you're questioning every decision you've made in life up to that point. But like, there's just enough hints throughout it to make you go, there's something more going on, and I can't quite place my finger on it.
Right.
And and then when it all culminates, it's an amazing, amazing moment.
Nice.
So yeah, can't recommend it enough. I love, and it's not jump scary for those of you. It's spine chilling scary when it happens. It's so cool. I love that stuff. I love it. That's why I've been watching like Silent Hill stuff.
Get me a nice anime girl with a smile that's way too wide.
Oh man, no comment. But that's what I've been playing, Julian. Other than that, I've been moving stuff from one house to the other, and that's about it.
Yeah,
so.
I gotta say, like, it was jarring yesterday we're not on camera right now because what we're using to record doesn't have a video feature, but like all of a sudden, like, oh shit, I didn't know that you had already moved, and like you went from this massive room where I was always thinking like, dude, he's like 10 feet away from his TV, to now your TV is like a foot away from your bed. And I was like, oh, he's going to have the other set of eye problems. Like, the other extreme.
No. Usually I just kind of I actually lay in bed most of the time when I play anything, and like, it's actually farther away than you think. And while my TV may have looked like it was further away, back in those old times, it was actually not much further away, because my actual like couch that was in front of that TV was actually pretty close to it. So,
okay.
But it's actually nice because I have my own setup now rather than having to work around some other person's setup. So it's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, we're recording this earlier than we normally would because you can do that now. So
I can do that now. It's free. It's amazing.
All right. Well, I dabbled with a couple things, but really, somehow, Justin, I'm like deep into disc 3 of Final Fantasy IX.
I've seen you've been playing that, yeah.
Yeah. So for listeners, like, obviously, I mean, I've bought every Final Fantasy game on launch day. So I bought this on whatever day that was in the year 2000. I probably had it finished within 2 weeks after that.
Right.
And then I didn't touch it again until actually when the Square Roots podcast started. I played through most of the game with them. I kind of fell off. Like, basically, there's a part where it's like, hey, go wrap up the stuff you want to do before you go beat the last boss type thing.
Huh.
So I Patricked it that time for some reason. I just completely lost steam.
You know what? If I'm going to Patrick a game, it's almost exactly because of what you just described. It's like, okay, go tie up all the loose ends and do everything before the final boss. I'm like, I'll get around to it. And then I never do.
Right.
That's a main reason for me doing stuff like that. I relate.
Yeah.
I do.
And then I think I definitely talked about the HD re-release on this show because when it came out on PS4 a couple years ago, I bought it there and I played a few hours of it. But it's on Xbox Game Pass, and so I just had randomly downloaded it. It's not the one that I wish was on Game Pass. I really want to replay 8 because I have literally not touched Final Fantasy 8 since 1999.
Wow.
So,
me neither, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, it's been since it came out, yeah.
It's one of my least favorite Final Fantasy games, but it is the one that I want to replay the most.
Me too. Yeah, I feel the exact same way because it's like I have to remember how weird that game was. That was a wild game when you really stop and think about it. But like I always remember it being like, yeah, it was fine.
yeah, it's a good game. It's you know, but so here's the thing: is that like. Playing this, I was looking at it through a different lens, especially coming off of Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like turn-based doesn't work anymore. Like maybe, you know, like I just need to accept that stagger mechanics and action-y, you know, stuff is the way of the future for Final Fantasy, and that's all that's going to work. Right. So I was looking at it through that lens, and then also like, kind of making some realizations for myself as a huge Final Fantasy fan that I was kind of surprised at. So the first one that kind of surprises me is that, like, even though like I love all these games, like there's none of them that I actually actively hate. But the PlayStation games, I know that they're really beloved, especially 7 and 9. It's interesting to me how much I dislike most of the characters in those 3 games.
No, that makes sense. They, for whatever reason, there's not, I think it's, I don't know how I want to phrase this. I can definitely see that because I feel like it was just the way video games were moving at the time. They were all sort of moving towards, like Final Fantasy VII, like, was like really shooting for that teen rating that was like barely, you know, could barely, you know, if you wanted to like bump it up a little bit, like if you unblur a few of those words, it's a mature game now. Right. You know what I mean? And that's just like something that era had. And like at that time, Final Fantasy, now in 9, is probably the most calmed down of that sort of stuff. They kind of went back to, you know, their fantasy roots, but now you're replaying it, so maybe I'm wrong. Well,
no, they definitely did, but they almost went in too hard of a direction the other way. So like, so here's my thing. So Final Fantasy VII, and I've talked about this a lot recently, is that for me, that game is about Cloud, Barret, and Tifa. I really don't care for the rest of the cast all that much. I think Red 13 has his moment, and then you can just leave him. I really don't like Cait Sith, especially his design. Never really cared much for Cid. And then, like, you know, Vincent and Yuffie they're fine, but they have that issue of being the hidden characters. So
the hidden characters. Exactly. I like Yuffie's like the comic relief, like Vincent's like super edgelord bullshit, and like he has a little bit stuff going on, and
which you can easily miss. That's the other thing is that I definitely
so easily.
I definitely didn't get any of his backstory when I didn't even get him the first time that I played the game because I didn't know how to get him.
Sid is like the epitome of like that type of era where he was like, I'm the old salty old guy and I sure do cuss a lot, but I hate women or whatever the fuck his deal was. That character, Sid does not age well. Like even you don't even have to tell. Like I can listen if anybody was like, yeah, I really don't get why anybody would like Sid. I'd be like, I don't get why anybody would either. But at the time, we were fine with it. I don't know why.
I mean, I think at the time he was just whatever to me.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on how mean he was to his assistant. But at the same time, he was not a character that I was like, oh yeah, Sid. I was like, oh, okay. Like he's not Cloud, Barrett, or Tifa, so I kind of don't care. You touched on it exactly. Yeah. He's like, I never picked up on that as a kid. I never picked up on him hating or, being abusive or whatever as a kid because I didn't understand that. And then when I got older and played it, I was like, holy fuck, Sid sucks. He's also, he's also abusive in that Japanese way where, like, she's just very long suffering and like still like 100% dedicated to him, even as he treats her like shit, but it's always her fault because, it sucks.
Yeah, it does. It really does. But I remember as a kid, me and my friend, we were, 12 when that game came out in 1997. We thought he was funny because he cussed a lot.
Right.
So that's all we thought.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
looking back,
sit in that chair and drink your goddamn tea is still a wonderful line. I still love that.
Yeah. It's especially, when I was that age, I was like, holy shit, he cussed at her. That's so crazy. Cause I hadn't seen that sort of stuff in a lot of video games that I'd played. So I thought it was cool. But now, like, as an adult, I'm like, man, that character fucking sucks.
Yeah.
He's such a bad dude. Then
Final Fantasy VIII, like, again, I haven't touched it since 1999, but I remember even at the time, I really only liked Squall and Renoa, and then as time went on, I was like, I don't think I like Squall either. And it wasn't until 9 came out where I realized how much I disliked Squall, and then also didn't like Cloud as much as I thought I did, because basically you had 2 games in a row where it was like these surly, not very friendly characters as the main characters, right? Like Cloud's whole thing for a large chunk of the beginning of the game is fuck you, pay me. And then Squall's whole thing for almost the entire game is whatever. Right. And so when you get to Zidane in Final Fantasy IX, it's like such a breath of fresh air. And so here's the thing. So like Final Fantasy IX, I like more of the cast than the previous 2 games. I like half of them. Like for me, that game is Zidane, Dagger, Vivi, and Steiner. And then I like Freya a little more this time, but she really doesn't have as much, like of an arc as I wish that she did.
Right.
And then you've got like Quina, who you can actually miss the first time around. Like you can actually go a long part of the game without grabbing them. If you miss the spot where they are, at the beginning of the game, and eventually you have to get them, but you can miss that part. And then Amaran comes in so late and he's such a douche that it's like, oh, okay, whatever, man. But anyway, like, one thing too is that, again, the last time that I played this game, was with Square Roots, and like they, and in my mind, like it actually tarnished the character because they were like so down on Zidane the whole time. But like now that I'm playing it, I was like, no, he's actually a fantastic character. Yeah, he hits on girls a lot and stuff like that, but he's also 17. Like he's girl crazy because he's 17. But he's also like a very happy, bubbly character, and also always willing to help everybody. Not just the girls, but like anybody. Like Vivi, he's like, hey, like let me help you. You seem like you're lost and need help. So come with me. And he's always that way through the whole game. And I really appreciate that about him. So that's the one thing. That's one thing is that it's weird that I like for that whole generation of Final Fantasy, not really a big fan of like a lot of the characters that came up with around that time. And then the other thing, and this will be kind of shocking to, I think, people as a whole, but like, I realized that like up until Final Fantasy X, I really didn't engage with the mechanics of the games very well. I played them well enough to beat them, but I don't think I really ever understood the deeper mechanics of them. And because I used to always say, oh, well, up until Final Fantasy X, like debuff spells never did any good, so they were they were useless. And then I realized, oh no, they had their uses. You just had to know when to use them and where. So I'm playing this one with the strategy guide next to me, which I never do. But I was like, you know what? I really want to plumb the depths of this game, and I want to see stuff, right? The stuff that I've never seen before.
Hold on. Is it the Final Fantasy IX strategy guide where you have to it asks you to go on the website all the time?
No, son.
Damn it!
This is a dude. I've got these hardbound limited edition strategy guide. Like it's 2 sets. Like one is for Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, and one is for 10, 10, 2, and 12. They're like premium shit, dude. Like,
nice.
Come on.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that existed. I will never forget that strategy guide and being like, what the fuck? It wants me to go on a website to look at this? There's a reason I bought the book.
Well, because at the time they were trying to spin up Play Online, because originally Play Online was not just only going to be the web portal for Final Fantasy 11. It was supposed to interact with Final Fantasy 9, 10, and everything going forward. And that all fell by the wayside except for Final Fantasy 11. But that was still a really shitty way to do a strategy guide. It's like, hey, type in this keyword to find out what to do here. It's like, but I bought the guide.
That's what I bought the guide for, motherfucker. God damn. I remember being so mad at that book. I mean, and I had the internet at the time too, and I was still mad.
Yeah. Definitely.
Dial up, granted, but still, I had to like go to another thing and do that.
Yeah, it's not okay. It's like
it was not. No.
I would only buy that book now as like a collector's item, but even then, it's like no, I've got better guides. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm trying to go through the game. You know, I'm not getting everything, obviously, because like. You know, and I'm not getting all the achievements because, like, one of them is you have to, like, jump rope 1,000 times with Vivi in Alexandria.
Oh, fuck that.
I've gotten to 14, and that's as high as I can go. And I was like, fuck that. But yeah, so, you know, there was stuff. Here's an example. Like, back in the day, like, even with, like, characters like Vivi and Dagger, most of the time I would just have them fight because I was very much like, oh, magic points are a precious resource. We can only use that on bosses. So like I wouldn't even bother with like doing magic spells for regular enemies and stuff like that. So yeah, I just didn't really engage with like the deeper mechanics of the game all that much. And I think I'm a better role-playing game player now. And then also having the guide there, it's like, oh, okay, let me like actually like take the time to get as many of Quina's blue mage spells as I can. Because I definitely didn't mess with that the first time around.
Oh, that is always one thing. Like any enemy skill, blue magic type of stuff.
I hate it.
I do too.
Yeah, but it's super useful if you take the time.
I was gonna say it's super useful. Like I remember, like Final Fantasy 7, like Mighty Guard is one of like the most powerful things. Like if you use it like early in the game. And like there's a lot of stuff like enemy skills type stuff, but it's such a pain in the ass to get that I never want to do it. It's always like Gao in Final Fantasy 6. I'm always like, I just don't want to go around the Veld. I just don't want to.
Because it's not even like it's a matter of just like I don't mind the ones where it's like, oh, you get hit by the spell and you learn it. That's fine.
Yeah,
but
that's
like
fine.
Yeah, with Gao you have to have him leap onto the enemy and then he doesn't come back for like 2 or 3 fights.
Yeah,
Quina, you have to get the enemy weak enough so that Quina can eat the enemy. And it's like, sometimes it's like, I'm literally having everybody else, I'm having everybody defend except for Vivi, who's doing like melee hits just to like weaken it a little bit. Cause it's like, I know it's almost dead, but it's not dead enough before Quina can eat it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you nailed it.
So I'm saying this to just like kind of do a little rant. Because this time I have engaged with 2 of the mini games that I did not engage with back in 2000. And I've come to the conclusion that Final Fantasy VII really fundamentally changed the series in a way that I don't like because of their goddamn mini game obsession.
Yes.
Because after Final Fantasy VII, every Final Fantasy game had to have at least 1 or 2 bullshit mini games, and I use that phrase from John Brandon at Square Roots.
Absolutely. In honor of John Brandon.
So there's 2 on Final Fantasy IX. There's the Card Master game, which is, you know, there was 1 in 8, which the game in 8 I think is good. I like the game in 8.
The game in 8's fantastic, actually. I always thought that was really fun, that with the put the things in the right tiles and if they match up. There was actually a really cool amount of strategy to that. If I remember correctly. Now, if I go back to it might be garbage, but I remember like really getting into the card game as a kid.
Yeah. I even had a physical version of the cards that they did them in Japan, and I collected those, and I think I played it a couple times with a friend. Anyway.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
The card game on 9, so, cause on 10, on the game in 8, it actually had like very easy to read numbers, and the numbers, if they were higher than the other number, you won, right? Simple.
Yeah. Exactly.
On 9, there's 4 values on each card. And even in the lore of the game, they don't know what the numbers mean.
Oh.
And it's a whole thing. It's like, oh, figure it out for yourself. Because ostensibly what it is like if your card has an arrow and you place that card against the side of a card that doesn't have an arrow, you flip that card over and you get it. Right? But if 2 arrows touch, then a card battle ensues. And then the number, like the values are based on those numbers, right? And I was like, you know what? Okay. I've got a strategy guide here. Let me find out what these numbers actually are. So I look it up in the strategy guide. And first of all, the numbers are hexadecimals, which I didn't even know what that was.
What is a hexadecimal?
Like, the values, I think, go up as far as 15, but obviously it's a single digit, so eventually they start being represented by letters. That's already more math than I want to do, Justin.
Okay, yeah, everything you're describing is pretty accurate to me because I remember taking one look at the Final Fantasy IX card game and saying, I will never play this.
Right.
Like,
you were wise to do so.
I was done.
Yeah. and so then there, like, the first digit is like your physical, or like, well, whatever attack you do, right? And then the second one is what property the card is, which is physical, magical, and then there's one which is like it attacks the lowest number on the card, and then there's another one that I don't remember what that does. And then the last 2 digits are your physical defense and your magical defense as listed, right?
Right.
Okay. Like, that's bullshit, but it's like, it should be that, like, you know, okay, I've got, like, this card has it does 4 physical damage, and it's got, you know, 2 magical defense, and it's going up against a card that does 1 magical damage, and it's got 0 physical defense, right? So, just on top of that, like, your card should win, right?
Right.
But then, it rolls, so then it assigns a number, and again, it's based on the hexadecimal, so again, too much math. And so, like, let's say that your card, like, it says 68, and then the other card says 31. Okay, 68 beats 31, right, Justin?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a larger number, yes, absolutely.
Because it does fucking dice rolls to where it invalidates those numbers, because a 31 can still beat a 68, it's just based on RNG.
Yep.
And I don't understand what it is with Japan. It's like, we're going to assign numbers to all this stuff, but then we're going to invalidate all that shit.
Oh, that's like the first rule of like collectible card games is usually like you don't. Okay. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to get into Magic the Gathering talk. It's not going to be much. Usually a sign of a bad card in Magic the Gathering is something that targets randomly, or like there's a dice roll, a random element to it. Now sometimes you can cheat the random element, and there's ways to do that. But when it's just like, this will target something randomly on the battlefield, that card's probably trash, because it's probably going to target the one thing you don't care about. Like, you always assume it's going to get the worst thing. And like, so dice rolls are bad when it comes to card games. Probably don't do those. Like, that's generally not. Yep. There's obviously some fun involved in the randomness. Like, you can play them in like a commander thing or something like that, or like, you know, you can, anyway. But like, I tend to like anything that's like there is, a Hymn to Turok, which makes you discard 2 cards at random. It's one of the most powerful Magic cards. It's a pretty powerful Magic card because you can't pick, and then you discard. If you make your opponent discard both their lands, then they just can't play Magic. Anyway, but dice rolls, the usual rule of thumb, they're kind of like something you try to avoid if you can.
Yeah. So there's that. And so I was like, okay, let me go to YouTube and look up like some tutorials on this. And then I was watching one, he's playing a game and he's like, okay, see there, I just lost that card. I have no idea why that happened. I was like, okay, great.
Wow.
A lot of help there. And then that tended to be like, the whole thing is like, there's so much randomness in this card game, but I'm almost, I just need 20 more victories to get the last achievement for it, Justin. So I've got to do that. God.
Isn't there a spot in the game where it kind of like makes you play the card game too?
There is a tournament that's part of the story, but it's pretty easy, and you don't have to actually win the tournament to continue.
Yeah,
the story.
I remember because I got through it because I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to throw cards at things and it's fine. And whatever. And if it makes me win, I'm going to be pissed. And it didn't. I remember it was like, yeah, you lost, but that's fine. You didn't get an item or something. But yeah, I remember being like, oh God, the card game that I've been avoiding the entire game because it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And then the other one is Chocobo Hot and Cold. Which is where you go to a chocobo forest, and that's where you get your chocobo. And then you do this hot and cold mini game where you dig for items. And it's basically like the closer you get, like the chocobo reacts differently. And, you've got like a minute in order to get up to 8 items. And it's like the point values that you get at the beginning are like, oh yeah, you got 6 points. And then you look at like the values like that you need for like to get the good stuff. It's like, oh, but you need 10,000 points to get the Robe of Lords, and it's like, okay, all right. And again, like I was not having much success. And also the other thing with Chocobo Hot and Cold is that randomly you'll dig up these chocoglyphs, and those are basically like treasure hunting quests where it's like it gives you an image. And then it gives you a hint, and then you have to find that place in the world and then dig around and get some really good loot. Never did this in like the first time that I played the game. But and the strategy guide does not actually tell you where to find the treasures. It gives you some tips and tricks on doing Chocobo Hot and Cold, but it doesn't actually help you with that. So I'm actually finding the stuff on my own. But I go on YouTube again, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? Like, I'm not having any success with the actual like digging part. And they're like, oh, we'll put it on this, because, on the Xbox One and PS4 versions, you have like the boosts, and one of them is like do it at like 5 times speed.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this makes it a lot better, but like I cannot imagine doing this like on the PS1. There is no effing way.
Well, I mean, back in those days, like, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't have much else to do, so I'd sit around and do stuff like that. But I remember, like, not getting into a lot of the mini games in 9.
Yeah, I completely ignored this stuff. Now, I will say that, like, it's pretty cool, because, like, I didn't even know that, like, the Chocobo could, like, get different abilities and turn colors. Like, I now have, like, he's a purple Chocobo, and he can, like, ride on... Okay. It's sort of like on Final Fantasy VII. Like, he can now walk on the ocean. So that's pretty neat. And I found a lot of the chocoglyphs, which is, it's cool. It's very rewarding, and I'm getting good stuff for it. And it's been fun playing the game that way. But yeah, some of that stuff is just like, dude, why did you do this to us? Like, why is this here?
Yeah, they had to add some hours to the game. Why not?
They did.
Like, give the people, some that want to like 100% get everything, give them something to do. Like I was that kid at one time, man. I 100%ed the shit out of Final Fantasy VII, so I know, I get it.
Oh yeah. And I gotta say, like, it's still a super charming game. I love the look of it.
Oh yeah.
I love, I think it looks gorgeous on the HD, up-res. Like, it's kind of weird, because like, I don't think they did actual work to the character models. It's just that they're in such high definition now that they look brand new, like just details that you never would have noticed before. Like, Freya's got these gorgeous blue eyes. It's like, oh wow, like I'd never noticed that before. And a lot of people have made a lot of like criticisms of the fact that they didn't do as much to the backgrounds, but I think it still works, because like the backgrounds kind of end up looking almost like an impressionist painting.
Interesting.
And so it makes everything pop a little bit. And yeah, like I wish they had done a little bit more to up-res that stuff, but
yeah, it's hard, because like those games, were made for like, the older style of TVs where that they played into that the way those TVs worked, and like could hide a lot of that stuff. And now once everything's in high definition, you're like, oh wow, that doesn't look as good as I remember it being, and it probably doesn't look as good as you remember it being. But
yeah, but it's still a really pretty game, and
I believe it. Yeah,
like it's definitely not a perfect game by any means. Like I definitely think that again, the turn-based combat could be faster, and like. Yeah, I mean, there are little things here and there, but for the most part, again, I mean, I'm 40 hours in at this point, which
Nice.
And that's the other thing too, is that it's just been like, it's this familiar thing. It's relaxing. It's rewarding, but it's distracting my brain more than playing Diablo does right now. Cause I've gotten to the point in Diablo where it's like, okay, now I'm so powerful that I'm not having to think about anything. And that makes me think about everything. So here it's like, I'm kind of just thinking about the game when I'm playing it, which is nice. Yeah. Cause that's what I need right now.
Yeah, that's why I keep going. I didn't mention I was playing this, but I've been playing on and off Troubleshooter because like that's been a real great game to like take stuff off of my mind, because there's just like a kind of like neat grindy element to it sometimes. And like, while it does slow the pace of the game down, there's times where I'm like, you know what, I just want to play this level a few times and get my levels up on these guys and get some money and stuff like that. And it just entertains me and like takes my mind off things. And I like that game a lot. It's pretty good.
Yeah, man. I've been grinding on this game, like, which I normally don't do in Final Fantasy games, because you typically don't have to. Like, you'll get into enough battles, and as long as you're not running from them, you'll be the level you need to be for the most part.
Generally, yes. I think the only it's only when you want to like tackle like the super bosses, and only in certain games. Like, I will never forget the infamous grind that on No One Can Know About This during Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that was.
And I was like,
I felt so bad, dude. I
felt so bad for them.
I'm preemptively feeling bad for them when they get to Final Fantasy IX, because they're going to do Chocobo Hot and Cold at the regular PlayStation speed.
Oh wow,
dude! Like, I've probably spent like a good 6 hours on it, but if I was playing it at normal speed, that would have been closer to 30.
Oh God!
So,
oh no, those poor men. Oh man,
I can't wait.
I just wanted to. I just wanted to like yell through the podcast, like, guys, just go to the North Crater and there's a little magical pot and you feed him elixirs and you get all the experience in AP. It's so crazy, you don't even know, and it just takes a lot of that. Because I remember when I found it, I was like, oh my God, this is great, this is amazing. But you know,
yeah. And here I actually found like the place. I found the place on my own, but I found a YouTube trick. Because basically, if you teach Quina level 5 death, she's able, or they're able to use that spell to kill this zombie dragon, or it's not a zombie dragon, it's a regular dragon, in one hit. And right now, like, actually, even towards the end of the game, it's like the best place to level. So like I was at this point where it's like I had Zidane, who's been with me the whole time, but I was using 3 other characters that hadn't been in the party for a while because of the story.
Right.
And I got them like all caught up to him and then some. And I was like, okay, this is pretty neat. And I don't want to break it too far until I get towards the end of the game. But I was like, okay, yeah, they're in the mid to upper 30s now, where they were in the mid 20s. Like, that's a good place to move on with the story. So it's been fun. And, you know, I don't know if I'm going to do like all the mega boss stuff, but I am planning on trying to get all the chocoglyphs and get a good handful of the ultimate weapons, and maybe actually finish doing all of the Mognet stuff, which I didn't do back then.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
What was the mega boss in 9?
Ozma.
Wasn't it like Ozma? Yeah. That as soon as you said the big giant orb guy. Yeah. That guy was pretty cool. I don't think I ever fought that. I that game was one where I was just like, hey, this game's pretty good, but I'm just gonna get to the end. That was, I think, the first Final Fantasy I actually did that with.
That was 8 for me. Like, I got to disc 4 of 8, and I was like, man, I want this to be over. And I just kind of like rushed to the end. 8
was a weird beast because like, so I just kind of like discovered like the true joy of Final Fantasy, and then, you know, with 7, and I like spent a lot of time playing it and loved it, and then 8 came out and I was like really hardcore Final Fantasy's fanboy, and I was like, well, I have to do everything in the game, right? Because that's how I played 7. So I did everything, and looking back, I'm like, man, I wasted a lot of time because that game wasn't that good. So I know like the true inner workings of Final Fantasy 8 very well, from the going to there's like a high level island you can go and just grind forever in that game.
But that's not the way you want to do it in 8. That's the weird thing about that game, is that
it is weird. It makes the end hard, but not like you can still beat it. I can't remember. There's little tricks. I remember I had the guide for that one too, and there was little tricks. I remember I grinded everybody up to 99. Like every party member was up to 99 in that game for me.
Yeah.
And I had hundreds of all the magics for all the people, and because I just drew from everything, and I had all the guardian forces and all the stuff. I was rolling in skills and whatever, and I can't remember. There's a certain order in which you want to unlock stuff, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it made it a lot easier once you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that last part sucks because it locks your fucking commands out. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I remembered I did it in a specific order where it's like, okay, let me just get magic items and guardian force back. And then also I had like one guardian force where you could turn off encounters. So I basically just went through the final dungeon without fighting any enemies except for the bosses that I needed to get my abilities back. And then I went to go beat the game. I really cheesed it.
I remember I had to play through 8 twice because I got to a point where I ran into a boss and it was impossible for me to beat at the level I was, and I couldn't run around and level up, and I had saved. That was the time where everybody has this moment where you learn to make multiple saves in a game. That was my moment, was Final Fantasy VIII, because I locked myself into a little hallway where I couldn't grind, and it was straight to a boss fight, and I only had the starting like 3 guardian forces for the entire game because I didn't know I was supposed to be drawing magic or anything. I just didn't engage in that mechanic. I was like, oh, just attack them. I'm killing everything just fine. It was so, and then I had guardian forces. I was like, oh, these are summon spells that don't cost me to actually cast. Why wouldn't I just cast them all the time? And it worked.
That's how I got through the game, is I just constantly did my summons, and then I realized, oh, that's not the way you're really supposed to play that game.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so excited. Like, that's the one that I want to go back through so badly, because it's like I want to break it, and I also just want to see like do all the stuff that I did wrong and do it right this time.
Exactly. I had that moment, at that time. Like I was like, I did this wrong at this moment, and that was the revelation.
Yeah.
And then I went back through and I was like, I'm going to do everything the right way. And that's when I did all the bullshit and wasted however many hours of my life, like I do on a lot of games. So, who are we kidding? That was the progenitor of a lot of things.
Yeah. Whenever I think about that, it's like, yeah, but what else was I going to do at that time? It's not like I was gonna, I was probably just going to play something else or watch a bunch of TV. So
8 was 98, 99?
99 when that one came out.
99? I thought it was 99. Yeah, I was, 14. I was like in high school. Yeah, I wasn't doing shit. Like, who are we kidding? Yeah.
Yeah. That's it for me. I bought Saints Row the Third Remastered, but I've really only played a little bit of it, so I don't really have much to say about it yet. Other than, and I'm not a person who usually calls out reviewers, but if you read or watched the IGN review on it, where he says that they didn't really do much to the game, I don't know what he was looking at, because if anything, I think they did a little too much to the game. It looks amazing. I just think that maybe what they did to the character models is not ideal, because they made them look a little bit too realistic for my liking.
Oh. Yeah, that's weird, because because when I played it not too long ago, I went back and bought the original version that was backwards compat, and I was like, I kind of really liked the kind of over the top style, and
exactly
it had a certain thing to it. It didn't look realistic at all. It almost, I don't want to say it looked anime, because that's certainly not the right
Blizzard-esque,
but almost. Yeah, Blizzard-esque, or even like Saturday morning cartoon-esque, kind of like a take on that. And yeah, that's weird that they did that.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at that sometime, maybe. Just because you got me curious.
So I'll probably I'm full in on the Final Fantasy IX train right now, but probably by the time we record the next episode, I'll have been able to put more time into Saints Row, and I'll definitely let you know more about it then. Because at first, I remembered the power scene being, I thought the power played at the beginning of the game when you're jumping through the plane, and I was like, oh man, they took out power. But apparently that's not until you parachute onto the base a little bit later on. So I was like, okay, apparently they did keep all the music. I just was remembering it wrong. So, because I was going to be really bummed if the music wasn't where it was supposed to be in that game, because that's a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Anything
it.
Anything else you got, Julian? That's it. Yeah, that's it for me too.
I'm really close to picking up Maneater, the shark RPG.
I've been I've been teetering on that one too. Oh, I know one weird game I played, and I'll be real quick when I say this. I played it today, but we recording a day late. I actually played this today because I never tried it before. Guilty Gear XR Revelator.
Oh, okay.
The music in that game is amazing. Holy shit, that shit is awesome. I haven't played too much of it, but I'm liking it a lot so far, and I might have more about that next time. So
nice. All right, well, I think that's it for Consumption Junction, Justin. So
Indeed.
I think that means that it's time to lower the cage and step into the ring for Video Game Cage Match.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest spectacle on earth. This will be one hellacious ride tonight. This is a 15-foot high steel cage, ladies and gentlemen. Who will triumph? Who will prevail? And who will realize their dream?
And this week we have a match booked by Transmet 2033. And he books... Well, and I was wrong last time, and I was glad that Bookie corrected me. I thought these were both Sunsoft games. We have a Sunsoft game and an SNK game.
Yes.
We have Journey to Silius by Sunsoft versus Crystalis or Crystalis, whatever you prefer, by SNK in a battle of B-tier NES games. I don't know. They're good games that probably a lot of people, including, I think, all of the people or maybe most of the people who listen to the show have never played.
I myself have never played them, but one of them sounds pretty cool, and I'll get into that.
All right.
All right, I'll get into it. Why not? Well, I'll just say this. Crystalis sounds like some really generic bullshit.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Now, I don't know any of these. I don't really know much about them. So I'm going on story alone. So I looked up the wikis for both of them. I did my research.
Because story is always paramount in NES era games. That's the first thing you want to look at.
You goddamn right it is, Julian. Don't you ever forget it. So, like Crystalis, the world ended, but magic though. And now there's a guy named Dragon. He's a very bad person. Gotta go find the 4 fucking elemental crystals and whatever. It's one of those. You get it.
Right.
It's the setup for like every RPG of that era. They even name like the character in that game is like, if you don't name them on, I believe the NES version is named SNK, because he's so generic. They were just like, oh, fuck it. Journey to Silius, Julian. Journey to Silius. All right, let's get into it. Also known as Rough World in Japan.
Ooh, I like that.
And oh yeah. Wouldn't that have been good?
Yeah.
And it was actually a Terminator movie-based game. But they lost the licensing to it. And
I had
so
a dim recollection of that.
thing.
And then a listener talked about that, and I was like, oh, right, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Now, this shit, Julian, you gotta hear this. This fucking plot is fire. All right, so I'm gonna read straight from here. In the year 0373 of the new space age calendar, overpopulation of Earth has led to increased demand for emigration to space colonies. J. McRae, the son of a scientist responsible for development of space colony number 428 in the Silius solar system, or the Triple S as they call it, prepares to move there in order to follow in his father's footsteps. However, the space station is obliterated in an explosion, killing the entire research team and destroying all data on board. In his father's home, Jay discovers a floppy disk containing not only the complete Triple S colony plans, but a personal message from his father asking that he complete the projects should terrorists succeed in destroying the colony. To protect the colony plans and to avenge his father's death, Jay sets out to fight the terrorists responsible for the space colony's destruction. That shit is fucking awesome, Julian. Fucking into it. And I refuse to believe that anybody can take out Jay McRae in a fight. Fight him one-on-one. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't win. Jay McRae, Journey to Silius, wins this cage match. I will hear none of anything else. I mean, I'm sure somebody else voted for the other game. I don't know. One of them probably plays like markedly better, and I just don't know anything about it.
I will say that both play pretty well.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I'm also going with Journey to Silius, although I've got to say that, like, I don't know, man. If you've ever saw the main character's hair, like, I think I could take him in a fight.
Listen, Julian, his name is Jay McRae. All right, it rhymes. He's smooth as butter. All right, you don't know. He's up there in space. There ain't no gravity in space. What you gonna do? You can't fight no gravity.
It's true. I can't fight no gravity. No, I'm going with Journey to Silius purely because of the nostalgia play. Because like I said, when this match was booked, this was one of the games that I bought at Farmore when they closed down, and so it was like one of like 7 NES games in my first like quote unquote collection of games, because they were like going for like, I think they were selling for like $5 to $7 a piece. And it was a game I'd never heard of before. I'd never played before. And it was a really solid little action game. And I had a lot of fun with it. And, like, I ended up trading in all those games eventually to Game Fellows. And for some reason, that is the one that I regret the most. I actually don't really remember. I mean, if I think about it really hard, I can remember the other ones. I know Shadowgate was one of them, because I could never get past, like, the screen with the dragon on it. Like, I just didn't know how to play Shadowgate, and I just couldn't figure it out. But
there's a lot of Nintendo games that are like that, where you just get to one part and you're just like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do here. Because if you didn't own the manual, sometimes there was like little weird things in that. Oh my god, I think NES games were weird.
I think Clash of Demon Head might have been one of the other ones. That was also a really weird game. That, like,
I believe it.
But anyway, I purely out of nostalgia, like, I think both games are great. But Journey to Silius, you know, it's got that kind of like NES Sunsoft look to it. Like, Sunsoft games on the NES have this real grit to them. Sort of like the way, I mean, Konami games had a similar type of look, but different. And so there's just like a certain level of grime to Journey to Silius that I really like. And
I see.
I've heard, I don't remember because it's been so long, but I will take it on good authority from the listeners that it's also got a really banging soundtrack. So it's got that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I'm guessing, but yeah, Jay McRae throwing it the fuck down. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, that's the verdict from the Nerds Without Pants. But as always, our lovely listeners, in addition to booking the matches, are also our referees. So we will go to them for the final arbitration. First up over at Facebook, we have Adam Bradbury, and he says, I had not played either of these games before, but had heard good things about both. Don't know if you guys know that the 2 games in this cage match are both part of the NES games for Nintendo Switch. Oh, that's cool. So he says, so I was able to play them both. My vote goes to Crystalis. I'm enjoying that one more. Both games are fun, though. Also, I'm pretty sure I once heard that Journey to Silius started out as a Terminator game, but they lost the license during development. And you are correct, sir.
You are correct. I confirmed it for you by reading it on the wiki. So. I'm glad. I'm glad Journey to Silius is getting. Jay McRae is holding it down, Julian. That's all I'm saying.
He is.
Can't beat him.
But it's nice to see that Crystalis, you know, has a point on the board. You know, we don't want another slobber knocker here where it's just.
I'm also very happy to know that I can actually go play these games because I do have Switch Online.
Oh, there you go.
And that makes me. I was like, oh, I can play as Jay McRae. That's what I was. That was why I was so deep in thought earlier. I was like, there was something that came up that I was wondering. Yes, I want to play as Jay McRae now. I might go do that after this podcast just for funsies.
All right. Well, we should move on to pixelbit.com, sir.
All right, over on Pixelbit. First up, we have our buddy Superstep. And he has this to say about the cage match. He says, never played either. Never played either. Yeah, sometimes words come out. I do it all in an Irish accent. Watch this. Never played either, but I'd rather try a fast-paced action platformer with a great music than a competent-looking Zelda clone. So my vote goes to Journey to Silius. The main character wins the cage match because he has a gun.
It's a good answer.
There you go.
And I apologize to any of our listeners from Ireland.
I know, yeah, exactly. Hey, I try.
No, yeah, it was. I thought that was a good effort.
I've heard worse. I've heard much more offensive Irish accents.
All right, next up, San Andreas says, Crystalis wins this round by being a great NES action adventure. Journey to Silius looked pretty neat, though.
Okay, all right. All right, Journey to Silius still ahead.
Competitive match so far, Justin.
It is very competitive. I'm going to be very disappointed if my boy Jay McRae doesn't win, but we'll see what happens, you know. All right. After that, we have our buddy Bookie. He says, I looked into my crystal ball and it gave me 20-1 odds in favor of Crystalis, but I think it might be biased though. Let's see. I've enjoyed both these games. Journey to Silius, Sunsoft, So Kicking Music is a just decent run and gun, kind of like Contra, mixed with a tiny bit of Ninja Gaiden or Mega Man. Or something. Crystalis, early SNK. Well, the world map soundtrack is a bit of an odd, earworm. At least there's a couple of promising songs. Is like a not Zelda with older action RPG influences like Super Hydlide or Ease or something. Funny enough, both of these games, when I played them last, I stepped away from them only to return later and enjoy them quite a bit. I'll personally give the edge to Crystalis. There's just something about the cataclysmic fall of civilization / return to past and eco-jank that I find appealing. The story also has a few twists and oddities, and overall I think it mixes a futuristic and fantasy setting well. Plus, you can ride a dolphin. I was uninformed. Okay, no, listen. Fuck Crystalis forever. I hate dolphins. That game is terrible. And come on, that's gotta be a powerful ally in the ring. No, it's not. Dolphins are awful people, and you know they are.
Well, that may be, Justin, but it's a dead heat right now.
All right, well, I'm gonna be real pissed off and in a bad mood at the end of this podcast if Crystalis wins. Now, I've never been so against a game in this match, Julian. It's cheating. You know, it's cheating. It's breaking the rules of the ring.
Wait, hold on. Didn't you tell me that they should not take the dolphin part out of the Final Fantasy VII remake? Didn't you say that needs to stay in?
I don't remember saying anything like that, Julian. I don't recall these words coming out of my mouth. No, the dolphin part's really fucking dumb too, and that's a terrible part of the game, but it's in the game, and fuck it, I guess. Whatever.
All right, next up, Daftman says, I've always been very fond of Crystalis, but I gotta give this one to Journey to Silius for its killer soundtrack. And he does lay a track in there. I may put that in. I'm not sure. Depends, because I'm under the gun on editing this time. So
right.
All right, that's it for Pixelbit. Right. So we should mosey on over to Twitter.
Over on Twitter.com, Julian, we have our buddy Xavier Krieger.
I regret everything.
He's at Quate Spain. Over on Twitter.com, and he says this about the Cage match. He says, I literally know nothing about either of these games, so I googled them both, and purely based on the covers, it's obviously Crystalis, a badass with not but his wits and a sharp blade, unafraid of golems, eyeball monsters, werewolves, and more, versus some nerd that's... How dare you? Jay McRae is not some nerd, sir. I mean, I know nothing about him, but I'll defend him like he is my own son. Versus some nerd that's fighting either a crack in the wall or maybe the Nintendo seal of approval. Hope your doctorate in astrophysics or whatever is going to help you when you have a sharp blade in between your eyes. That was a really good one. I could not keep from laughing there. That was pretty good. You got it. While I may disagree with your pick, your argument is sound.
Next up, we have Jeffka on Twitter at Jestoff, who says, also, I have heard of neither of these games, but I know Crystalis is on the Switch's NES Online, so I'll go with that. Plus, I like the debate over how the name is said. Obviously, it's Crystalis. It's Leviosa. Justin, Wingardium Leviosa.
Is this a reference to something?
Yeah, it's Hermione. It's a Hermione line from Harry Potter.
Oh, of course. That's the movie / book franchise that is very popular with people who exist.
Yes.
Yeah. it's about wizards, right? And they shit themselves and get rid of it with magic. That's what that's all about.
Look, man, I'm not going to defend anything that J.K. Rowling has said since the books have been published. I will just defend the existing material.
Just wanted to be clear. Just asking questions, Julian. I don't know much about it. I think that's it, actually.
Oh, it is, huh? Because we did not. Yeah, that's the last one from Twitter.
I believe so.
Justin, sorry, but
it's okay.
Jay McRae coming up short. It was close though. If anything, Xavier Krieger made the best argument, and he may have talked me into that. But then again, Dolphins, man, fuck Dolphins. Yeah,
Ugh.
I mean the way that I see it,
close.
this was actually this was like a Chikara style match, Justin, because
right.
Journey to Silius came in there and was definitely talking some game and actually called in like an off-brand T800. It was actually the W450. For licensing purposes.
The WD-40. Right?
Yeah, and that, that did some stuff, but then Crystalis threw a dolphin in there, and they kind of just battled it out, so that didn't really make any headway. Right. And then Journey to Silius did have a gun and started just shooting everywhere, and Crystalis was on the ropes, but then Crystalis just made fun of Jay McRae's page boy haircut, and then Journey to Silius started crying. And then Crystalis just kind of balled it up in a small package and got the 1, 2, 3. Because you just cannot come to video game cage match with a terrible haircut like that, Justin.
Apparently not. And these things happen. And maybe Journey to Silius will get them next time. Hopefully people learn of the things that I know, and they'll come around next time. I see Journey to Silius having a good second showing someday in the cage, Julian. I really hope so.
Yeah.
We need to accept people for their hair choices. Okay, some of us don't have hair, Julian, and I'd be happy to have that hair. Okay,
I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking the other day. I was like, man, if you could regrow your hair, would I do that? Because when I did have hair, I looked like Hank Hill. But it's I'd at least like to have the option, so I probably would. I would probably still rock the Jason Statham look, but at least I have the ability to.
At least you have the option,
Because maybe I want to dress up as Hank Hill for Halloween. I don't know, Bobby.
Right. Well, you'll get them next time, Journey to Silius. It was you had a good show.
Yeah.
You had a good showing.
All right, so that's it for Video Game Cage Match. But as always, there is always another match on the horizon. And look, I will fully admit that we just had a match of a couple jobbers, complete unknowns, total dark match, really didn't even need the cage because nobody really cared. But Justin, next time, we've got a huge fight. This is one for all the marbles. Okay. This one comes to us from Blaine Faya. Next time in the steel cage, we have Super Mario Brothers 3 taking on Super Mario World.
Ooh,
we're finally going to settle the age-old debate. Which is better?
Oh, man.
Who wins, Justin, between Mario 3 and Mario World?
Does one of them have a dolphin in it?
I don't know. It's been a while since I played either of them. Do Cheeps count?
I don't think. No, they're more like Magikarps or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so remind us what we're doing for Stage Select next episode, sir.
I want to know people's favorite religions within video games. Not religions of video games, but obviously a religion or a cult or something like that. Just a religious order in a video game, if you will.
Yes. And again, the cage match is Super Mario Bros. 3 versus Super Mario World. And we're going to want those comments by 8:30 Central Time on June 6th. You can go to pixelbit.com and comment in the show thread for episode 177. You can tweet us, you can DM us on Twitter at NWPcast, or you can head on over to facebook.com/nerdswithoutpants podcast and send us a message or comment there. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. You can always find us on the Twitter. Justin?
I am at Tyrone_Swift, or you can tweet my other podcast at Clickbait Update.
Yes. Anything in the hopper there?
You know what? I will say this, and I'm not sure if we'll do it or not, but I have an idea for an episode. We've normally done these like top 10 style lists, and I've been wanting to explore a different concept here. A different type of clickbait, if you will. So I think our next episode is going to go into the story-based slideshow clickbait. And we're going to see how that goes.
Yeah. I'm
really interested.
Those visual aid slideshows should play really well on an audio format. I'm looking forward to that.
I found some real winners that were basically all text. So
excellent.
It should be okay.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Julian_Titus. Again, you can find the show at NWPcast. Our theme song, Relax, and interstitial tracks, Moody Grooves and To the Max, are brought to us by Megan McDuffie. You can find her on social media everywhere. Just search for Megan McDuffie. She's working on a lot of cool stuff right now.
Indeed.
And as always, on her Bandcamp, you can actually find the full version of our theme song, and it's very cool. So that is going to do it for this episode. Again, if you would, be so inclined to rate and review us and write a review, definitely let me know, and I will read it on the show like we did at the top of this episode. But that is going to do it for this edition of Nerds Without Pants. So for myself and Justin, thanks for listening, and keep it pantsless, Internet, and wash your goddamn hands. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, it's me again. You probably don't. You probably just want to hit stop now because I'm going to ramble for a bit, and I don't know what I'm going to say, but I feel like I have to say something. I'm getting to the point where I'm about to break. I don't know, man. Like, it's too much. It's getting to the point where I just feel like with the pandemic, like I'm just surrounded by it all day long, every day. And by the time I get home, like I don't have the capacity for anything else. And then George Floyd was killed. And then, I don't know, it's just stacking up and it's stacking up. And it's a weird situation for someone like me because, I'm only an eighth black. Like I've said on the show before, I don't have the black experience. I don't know what that's like. I never had that growing up. But the older I get, the more I think about my grandpa because he was full black. And I think about the stuff that he probably went through when he was a young man and even into his 30s and 40s and stuff like that. And then thinking all those years later, because it's been it's been a good bit since he died. It's been like 12 years now. So just thinking about how long it's been since he was a young man and how little shit has changed. And like, I don't have the words. And a lot of podcasts didn't release. I'm finishing editing this up on Tuesday, June 2nd. And it was Blackout Tuesday. And so pretty much most of the podcasts, or all the podcasts I listen to, except for news-based ones, didn't release today. And I considered not publishing this on a normal Wednesday simply because, like, we don't try to get into politics or anything like that. And I definitely don't post my opinions on things like that on Twitter and stuff like that, because I'm not smart enough to really voice opinions on it. And also, like, I just try to keep my Twitter as just like a fun place to talk about and rant about geek shit. Same thing with the podcast. And, hopefully you enjoyed this episode and it didn't feel out of place because, it came off as us being dismissive or callous or anything like that. I think we realized we had a show to do. We had a show on the schedule, and we did the show, and we had fun doing the show, and hopefully you enjoyed listening to it. But it's a real hard time for everybody, and I just want my mom. And I guess if I'm going to say anything, or if there's any point to take from this, is just be kind to each other and tell the people that you love them, including your friends. Like, that platonic love is so important right now. Hug your pets and pull them in close. And, if you're like me and you're really alone, like, you don't have anybody living with you and you don't have any family, and because of the pandemic you can't visit with people and you're isolated like I am, I see you and I understand. And the only thing that I can say is try to reach out to the people that you care about, and just don't isolate yourself mentally as well as physically. It's a hard thing to do, especially when the depression rolls in, like it is for me. But still here, still doing this show. Hopefully it helps a little bit. But yeah, man. And I guess if you are listening to this still and you're rolling your eyes, or you don't understand why the stuff that's happening right now is really important, then maybe this isn't the podcast for you. I don't know what to say to you other than, not really going to go into it hard on this show because that's not what this show is about. But at the same time, man, something's got to change. Love you all. Take care.